We're going to talk about practice. That's right. Practice. Not games. Oh, no, certainly not games. Practice. And it's kind of a big deal, actually. UNM, New Mexico State, Western, Eastern Highlands, New Mexico Junior College, College of the Southwest. They're all going to get to practice. Now, they can't play games at home, but at least they can live in their cities. They can live in the state. They can be based out of the state. And they can practice, which is a big deal. High school youth, not so much, but this is at least some movement. I got a lot of thoughts on this. Good morning to you. Merry Wednesday. It's your opening drive. It's Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2021. Jeff Siembieda, JJ Buck. Micah's producing on the radio side. J-Pole has got you on the TV side downtown at ProViewNetworks.com. JJ, yesterday afternoon, and maybe this was coming. I think we saw this coming. Maybe not. I don't know where I was on this. I knew that there was a lot of pressure, and I give Jeff Grammer a ton of credit on this. It feels like when he and I don't know if the word's exposed because we'd been talking about it, but certainly the Journal being a statewide paper that ends up, every day the Journal is in the governor's office. It's in legislatures. Everybody looks at the Journal every day. It's the largest newspaper in the state. And while we had been saying it for months, when Jeff Grammer really did the story last week and really exposed the differences between what was going on, how United was being treated, and how the Aggies and Lobos were being treated, it felt like there was some noise coming out of Santa Fe. It felt whether this was the right thing to do, which I believe should have been done a long time ago, or not. It felt like there was an impetus there to get things moving, and you started seeing more online chatter, more chatter on our forums on different places. And yesterday, they made the announcement that UNM, New Mexico State colleges, are going to be able to practice under strict protocols. They peeled back basically one restriction, which said that if you're the county in which the school is housed or is above 8 cases per 100,000 of COVID positive, then they're shut down. And so it means a lot. We're going to get into what it means, what it does, what it doesn't do. But I honestly felt, and that wasn't addressed yesterday, and Eddie Nunez is going to be with us at 8 o'clock this morning to talk about it. But I felt really that gave it a lot of momentum. That was the first time where I felt, maybe Santa Fe, the hypocrisy, the double standard was exposed. I sure as hell didn't expect them to pull back on United. And so I thought that they'd try to make this somewhat even.
Yeah, it's something that it's not surprising because we've been talking about the order for all summer and then into the fall. The differences of how they were treating United. Pretty much it was just pro sports and then collegiate athletics is how they worded it. They had pro sports, the job, this is the decision versus collegiate athletics and going to school. But once you realize there's no classes and it's still going to be online for a while, you wondered, when is the movement going to happen? When is the adjustment going to come with everything we've seen? Needed official yesterday, and it is big. Just when you think about it, for these student athletes, that's one less thing, that they have to worry about. You still have to travel, but the fact that you get to practice, that you have your own gym, you have your own room, that's huge. You'll take 2 plane flights, go somewhere for 3 days, and then coming back for 3 or 4 days, depending on the schedule, versus being in Lubbock or being in St. George, Utah, or wherever. So it is a huge move for athletics overall. And then also all the other sports that then get to come back and start participating in practice and or potentially their spring season.
Basically what it does, there's a base now for Lobo and Aggie and all the college athletics, and that base can be home. Where are they going to play games? Competition is still up in the air. It will not be in the immediate at home. It will not be in New Mexico. It will not be on campus. It will not be at the pit, although that could evolve into something down the line. I think you've got 2 universities in very different situations in New Mexico State and New Mexico. And I said this last week when you kind of could see this coming, that for the first time in a long time that I can remember, New Mexico State's got a little bit of an advantage over New Mexico. And that's simply because proximity to El Paso, proximity to Texas and facilities there where they can go across state lines. They can still practice at home. Their football team's scheduled to start practice on Monday for the spring and these 3 games that they've got scheduled. They can practice at home and find a place, if they can find a place, cross the border 30, 40 minutes away in El Paso and play volleyball, play basketball, whatever it is. Now, they've got to find the right spot, and it's got to be able to be televised and all those things, but they've got the advantage. New Mexico is going to have to still find a place. Now, do you play all those games, all those contests as road contests? I think that's something that's certainly up in the air. Could you play all your baseball games on the road? Still to be figured out, and we'll talk to Eddie about that. But I think Mario's got a little bit of an advantage there where he can stay at home, put him on a bus, get them across state lines and play their competitions and then return that evening.
Yeah, and it sounds like that's the direction they're going to lean. As you pointed out, they find a venue where they can accommodate everything and get the games out according to whatever they need, whether it's their digital partners especially for conference play. But it's something that there sounds like they are going to try to utilize. Yeah, it's different. The Lobos might have to go to road series. It sounds like that's what the women's basketball team is ultimately going to do, is probably just play the rest of the games as true road series. Whatever that may be. So there's still hurdles, but it was a big step because we've just been waiting for the movement. Okay, so we've seen it, protocols, etc., how it plays out. Now, can you just get your teams back to practice?
Right.
Because we saw it with New Mexico State. Like, it's not safer just because you're somewhere else. You're just in a different place to be in a different place. And it feels like some common sense finally came through, showing, okay, one doesn't necessarily equal the other. Like, it doesn't have to be a blanket, which it's not going to be for anyone coming out of this situation. We're all going to go through things differently at different times. And it felt like, yes, finally it was the right time to move forward, at least with practicing in the state of New Mexico for collegiate athletics.
Interesting why it was the right time. Numbers have been coming down. The vaccination is now available and being rolled out. It's not perfect now. This isn't over. It's not at a place where it's ideal. I've told you this. I would like to see where they're able to play games in spectatorless venues here. Not sure why not, and I guess it's because of the other team traveling in. And we'll talk a little bit to Eddie about that because he's had the conversations. I would imagine it is because the other institutions traveling in, even though certainly in the Mountain West, they're under the same protocols, but then they'd be going through hotels and whatever. The way I understand it, and again, this is another thing I want to talk to Eddie about, is as far as housing. I asked Mario last night. He believes that they're still going to be housed just like they were before in their apartments or whatever. So there is not going to be any sort of controlled housing environment at New Mexico State. Still tested 3 times a week. So is it imperfect? Yeah, it's imperfect. It's a step towards getting back. To me, again, this should have been done a long time ago. And I wonder what the impetus was. Here's what it does not do. It does not have any effect on high school or youth athletics. High school and youth athletics are still a no-go. The NMAA is trying to get contests started on the 1st of February. Today is the 20th of January. Obviously, it's probably not going to happen. Practices have begun around the state. Workouts, they're trying to still get all of their sports in: football, cross country, track and field, volleyball, baseball, picket. I'd love on the timing, and I mentioned this to you yesterday, with the legislative session getting started yesterday, JJ, my fear was if it didn't happen yesterday, and yesterday was kind of a little bit of a deadline, even though there wasn't a hard line in the sand. Yesterday was important on a number of fronts. School started at UNM yesterday, and the student athletes are back on campus, and it's, what are we doing? Are we playing? Are we not? What am I here for? And I think at some point you were going to start to lose student athletes. And secondly, because of the session and attention being diverted in so many different directions, I think there was an urgency, certainly from Eddie, Mario, athletic directors, to get some sort of an answer, and probably from the governor's staff to just, okay, stop freaking banging down my door every day. We got more important stuff to do, and get an answer out and start having to deal with this every single day.
And a lot of that, too, is, I think, for the student athletes, not just are we playing or not, do we even have to be here? If we're not going to participate in anything, not able to do anything, I'm sure that a lot of them are like, well, might as well just go back home and take classes online this semester. So it's a positive step. Like, as Eddie Nunez said yesterday, still got to continue to be cautious. Like, it's one where, all right, you get to practice at home, but that doesn't mean there's any changes to protocol. The testing remains the same. Still got to keep your fingers crossed, because you could do everything right and still end up in a situation where someone comes down with the virus. But I think it's overall, just specifically when you just look at it from like a mental health standpoint for these players, it's a huge step for them just to be back home to practice.
Aaron, I'm going to tell you, I think you're right. It's a huge step. I'm not totally satisfied, but I'm pleasantly pleased as opposed to not pleasantly pleased. I'm pleased that there was progress. I'm glad that the student athletes are able to practice at home. My dissatisfaction comes with I do think that they should be able to have contests at home, and obviously dissatisfied with the lack of movement on the high school sports level. Still, I do believe is New Mexico still the only state they can't play, right? So now they can practice, but they're still the only state where colleges are not allowed to have a contest. I mean, we're still leading in that. In regards to the kids in the high school sports, I got a lot of thoughts on that. I want your thoughts today at 505-246-0610. It's 505-246-0610. Emails are coming in already. Jeff at 610knml.com. JJ at 610knml.com. We got a lot of other places to go. There's a little breaking news. I think it's fairly significant breaking news in pro football this morning in regards to a guy I think most of you think is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Maybe you don't, but we'll get there. Tiger surgery, a gigantic signing in Major League Baseball, good stories in the NBA. A Hall of Fame, another Dodger Hall of Famer has passed away, and we'll get through the Mountain West Conference last night. So, JJ, a ton to do. 8 o'clock this morning, Eddie Nunez will be with us, the athletic director at the University of New Mexico. You can watch the show. We're on ProView Networks. You can go to our Facebook page, The OD in the AM, and you're listening on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
You've seen Rich Eisen on TV, and
plays it across the box off the dasher. It's settled. Shot up by Garcia. Trickles in. Goal.
Chavez blocked at the rim. And here's Dorian Lewis to Watson.
Shot on and just wide. Big deflection. Goal.
With his first field goal. Look at that. That's gorgeous.
Not a game you can go have 25 turnovers in and win.
Get that out of here, Watson says. Here comes Hodnett all the way. He's blocked in return. Dickey, did he get it off? He did, and he hit it. They're really... Oliveras. Wild three, and it hit.
Another steal nearly by Hidon. It is a steal. Avalos ahead to Hidon. The two-hand hammer by Hidon. I knew he was going to put that one down.
ProView Networks tonight.
District matchup there.
Davidson took it away in transition. Might be time for a jam. Yes.
Oh! Big Barton, watch him, coach. Watch the inbounder.
Dumas Sanchez in the corner.
Back to Barton with 2.4 seconds left. Fires for the win.
Hey, he got it!
It's good.
Oh my God!
On the last second shot.
He did.
Oh my God! Bakes it in from 25 feet and watch the celebration right in front of us. What a shot by Barton. He was double teamed and somehow found a way to get it in. Ramos to Gaxiola, high window for the win. It's good. It counts. Gaxiola with the game winner for a Driscoll Heritage.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
some protection. Deep ball, Erickson's open. Touchdown, Monarchs.
Second and 10, Smith. Looking, and he's going to fire over the middle, and he's got his guy, and it's another big play. Walking away for a touchdown, Tristan Altier.
They're going to hand it off to Chavez.
2004 class of quarterbacks by the New York Giants, and then traded to San Diego for Eli Manning and some picks. Philip Rivers announced this morning he is retiring from the National Football League. He played 17 years, the majority of them in San Diego, a couple of years in Los Angeles, all with the Chargers, and then finished out last year with the Indianapolis Colts. It is a terrific career. You decide, and I'm sure we'll have that debate. I've heard talking heads tell me this morning an absolute first ballot Hall of Fame, which I'm not sure I'm there. I think I'm Hall of Famer on Philip Rivers, but I'm not sure I'm at absolute first ballot Hall of Famer. Are you?
I don't have that first ballot feeling, but it's also a situation that you either are or you aren't.
Right.
But I get kind of the aura around being a no-brainer first ballot Hall of Famer and what it means, just to athletes and those that vote in that situation. But Drew Brees, better than expected this season. You go back to his final game, that wild card contest, he was good against Buffalo. He threw 2 touchdowns and threw an interception, but you could see him really start to hit his ceiling. The same thing we just watched with Drew Brees. It's like the teams are going to be good, but you're missing that gear, and that's what Father Time does. And for Philip Rivers, I think it was a good ending to a career that a lot of moments came up just short in situations, whether it was injuries around him, injuries to himself, and whether it's the divisional rounds or if they got to the AFC Championship game. But ultimately, we thought Indianapolis to take that next step was probably going to be in the quarterback market regardless, because he only signed a 1-year deal. Yeah. But it makes sense at this point in time for Philip Rivers to show, hey, I went out on a positive note, had a pretty darn good career, and is probably going to end up with a yellow jacket.
Yeah, I'm a Hall of Famer because I don't believe you've got to win a championship to be great. Now, I know some of you do, and that's okay, especially at the quarterback position. Dan Marino was still great. There have been great quarterbacks. You go, who else, Jeff? Well, I mean, there's been really good quarterbacks and great quarterbacks throughout time that weren't in that right position. If you're a quarterback, your job is to throw football, right? Throw football, throw touchdowns. And if that, in fact, is the measuring stick for quarterback, he is 5th in the history of the game in passing yards. He's thrown for more yards than anybody else who's ever done it, except for Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Brett Favre. He has thrown for more touchdowns behind the 5th most touchdowns in the history of the league behind Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Brett Favre. So those are the only 4 guys in the history of the game who have basically done what you're doing. This is my whole thing with Pete Rose, right? I mean, I always say, and I understand all the side stuff, baseball, throw ball, hit ball, catch ball. Well, a guy who hit ball better and more than anybody else should be in the Hall of Fame. If football is throw ball, catch ball, tackle, guys who are leading in tackles and touchdowns and in yardage, by the numbers should be in the Hall of Fame. I wavered on this a touch, and I'm at Hall of Famer. And I know some of you can push back, and I'm listening to it. But JJ, again, to me, a guy who, this isn't a longevity award. He didn't put up these numbers simply by being there for 19 years, or 14. Yeah, what is it? 17 years in the National Football League. He did it by being really good, and to me, I got it. All those guys in front of him have a ring. Is it all his fault? I don't think it is. Is it partially his fault? I mean, you tell me the great Charger team that didn't get there. There were 1 seeds. There were 1 seed Charger teams that didn't finish. But you tell me that great Charger team with that great defense and that great running game that he didn't get there. I don't think there is one. That's why I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and just looking at everything for Phillip Rivers in this new era of quarterbacks. And that list that you read, the few that were in front of him, it's pretty much the last 2 decades as we've seen the game evolve to what it is now. He was right there on the doorstep. Now, it's because he didn't have a championship. I don't think we ever talked about Phillip Rivers as being in that category, that he was always the second-tier quarterback, which is why some might have that hesitation, just thinking first ballot Hall of Famer. But if you go back, that draft class is going to have 3 guys that probably get in the Hall of Fame.
That's
Eli
right.
Manning, because he's got 2 championships. I think if you put him head-to-head, I'm taking Phillip Rivers as a quarterback all day, every day over Eli
That's where
Manning.
I was going to go. Yeah, I was going to ask you next. Who had a better career?
Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah. Who had a better career, Eli Manning or Phillip Rivers?
Well, if it comes down to championships, you say Eli Manning,
right?
But just the quarterback itself, I'll take Phillip Rivers.
So out of the 3 of them, and I think Ben Roethlisberger, it was Eli was drafted first by the Chargers and Rivers second by the Giants and then swapped, and I believe it was 7th overall that Ben Roethlisberger went to the Steelers out of Miami of Ohio. Who had the best career? Who's the best quarterback of that class when all's said and done? And things are almost all said and done now.
Ben Roethlisberger.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Well, you're going to say, well, Jeff, you just read the numbers to me. No, that's right. That's part of the equation. I don't think any of them stand exclusive. We've had conversations, and a lot of them, about is Eli a Hall of Famer simply because he won 2 Super Bowls. And I think that would be the reason he would be a Hall of Famer, because if you look back at his resume, he had a lot of average to less than average years. But he did have a couple of really good years, and he beat Tommy in a Super Bowl. He kept that team from being undefeated. He beat him twice in the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, right? Who they beat in the other Super Bowl? Was it both, New England both times? So I think he's a Hall of Famer. But that came down this morning, so I'd love your thoughts on it. 505-246-0610 if you want to get in. But Phillip Rivers is retiring. By the way, the reason he announced it today, did you read into the whole thing? And he was holding off until January 20, not because it was Inauguration Day, by the way, but because he told Adam Schefter that he wanted to announce today because it's Roman Catholic Church's feast day for Saint Sebastian, often referred to as the patron saint for athletes. His quote was, "Every year, January 20th is a special and emotional day. It is St. Sebastian's feast day, the day I played in the AFC Championship without an ACL, and now the day that after 17 seasons I'm announcing my retirement from the National Football League. Thank you, God, for allowing me to live out my childhood dream of playing quarterback in the NFL." He played that AFC Championship game on a torn ACL, destroyed ACL. So that's why today. And good for him, and he's going to go coach high school football, from what I understand, down in Alabama. Knock yourself out, man.
Coach Rivers.
Yeah, he seems like a good dude, and from what we know. So that's big story. Michael Thomas is going to have some surgeries. The Saints receiver who's all banged up all season long, and so that's no big surprise. We're going to get into Patrick Mahomes' situation as well as we go through. Have you watched any of the Tiger documentary? This series on HBO yet? Alden has. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Alden, what do you think? Like thumbs medium? Yeah, I think it's been pretty good. I mean, it's certainly not told from Tiger's perspective, although it's there's a lot of stuff in there. I haven't got through the whole thing yet, but I think it's pretty good. Tiger had another surgery yesterday, back surgery. It is his 5th, and so he's out indefinitely. Which what are we, 3 months away from the scheduled Masters? I think we're going to have a Masters in April. He's 45 years old, man. Like I told you after the last round of surgeries, right? I was. And I'll hold on to this because I was certainly in the minority when I told you I believed that Tiger was going to win another major, right? I was holding on to that. I'm not certain I believe he's going to win another major. I think he's going to win more tournaments, but it's going to be harder and harder as you continue to reconstruct this man and he gets older and older.
Yes, it's going to be fewer and further between the moments that Tiger pops. It's the way it's going to be when you go through all that with your body.
Yep, and he's got to start, I don't know if all over again, but coming off another back surgery, it's gonna be pretty gnarly for him. All right, Eddie Nunez is going to be with us coming up at the top of the hour. That's 8 o'clock. We'll talk to the University of New Mexico athletic director in regards to the loosening of restrictions in regards to college athletics and the practicing yesterday. I certainly want your thoughts on that, in what it means and what it doesn't mean for high school and youth. And he fought the battle, and I really give Eddie a ton of credit on this. JJ, I think he led the charge on this. Well, I know he led the charge on this. This is the guy who's been dealing with it since last summer. Everybody else is a beneficiary of this. I think New Mexico. Mario's told you New Mexico State's administration has been their front person on this. This was Eddie's undertaking, dare I say, battle, and I don't know if he's won it, but certainly a little victory yesterday for his student athletes, right? And
yeah, it's the step, and that's what we're all just looking for in all this. Like, what is the next step? Because it's not going to be something that comes down and then all of us are going to be like, oh, this is perfect, this works for us. It's going to have to be dealt with individually, and whether or not the state is frustrated, the legislature, everything else is going on, well, guess what? That's your job right now. You have a lot of stuff to figure out. Yes, this is just one thing, but you needed some movement on it.
Well, it affects a lot of people, man. It affects a lot of people, and that's what you're here to do is serve the citizens of this state, correct? And whether they're student athletes or whether they're fans or whether they're the high school athletes, they're citizens. Yeah, it's work. Yeah, there's a lot going on. But to your point, yes, that's your obligation to serve the citizens of this state and to take care of this. Michael, who's winning that fight? You all into this Abu Dhabi fight card coming live to you from Abu Dhabi this morning? You got live sports. You're fired up about it?
Yeah, I'm just checking it out. Wasn't expecting fights at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, you can find them anywhere. Yeah. All right. We were flipping through the other day, and we found 2 different poker things going on. One women's poker and one. Addie's like, "What are we doing? Like they're put poker on?" So I had to explain to her poker, and oh, okay. So what's that guy going to do? Oh, well, why do you get rid of his 6 and 7? So yeah, she was stunned that not only was poker on, but it was on 2 different networks at the same time in prime time. 505-246-0610.
The classic filler. Let's put some Texas Hold'em on.
That's right. The World Poker Tour. It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM at AM 670 Sports Animal.
Let's see if Melfi can cash it in. He's got some protection. Deep ball. Erickson's open. Touchdown, Monarchs.
Second and 10. Smith looking, and he's going to fire over the middle, and he's got his guy, and it's another big play. Walking away for a touchdown, Tristan Altier.
They're going to hand it off to Chavez. Chavez breaking tackles. Look out. Chavez up the sideline, stays in bounds. Touchdown, Volcanovic.
That replay, I got you. Measurement. I mean, Smith's got a fire on first down, and he's on the outside. There's a lot of room for Brad Thomas. A move, and he's set free. Dance into the end zone. Touchdown. So it goes.
He'll run with it. Stumbling. Gets down into the end zone. And looking to throw it. And he throws it in the end zone. Caught!
First and 10 from the 11. And spin move for Smith. Push the B button. Dance into the end zone.
He'll throw it. Looking. Here comes the rush. Stepping up. Javier now running around. Being chased. Looks across. Throws it up and wide open. Ball is caught. Touchdown. Jimmy Gaye. Chavez dropping, looking, stepping up. He's going to run. He's got a lot of green in front of him. To the end zone. Touchdown. Rio Rancho, Isaiah Chavez. Chavez set. He's going to run with it again and dives and...
Austin Smith, and to the outside, a lot of room. Look out, a foot race down the sideline. the way on the first play from scrimmage, Chris. That's a touchdown.
Scrambling. And great hit. He bounces off outside. Got some daylight at the 20, the 10, the 5. What an incredible run.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop.
Well, back at it on, tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon at their current home facility in St. George, Utah. 1 o'clock over on News Radio KKB. They'll play San Jose State, who is also 0-8 in conference, as is New Mexico. Last night, a big one in the Mountain West, and the team who won, I would have picked to win. I just didn't pick it as a 20-point or a 19-point game. Utah State 83-64 over Colorado State up in Logan last night. A dominant performance by the Utags, a game that was never in doubt, and another big performance by Brock Miller, who looks like Caillou. Have you gotten into Caillou yet? Did I ask you that the other day?
Yes, not yet, but I know what you're talking about.
All right, he does. 18 points and 12 rebounds for Neemias Queta. I thought it was an impressive showing, and Utah State just looks terrific. They've won 11 in a row. They're undefeated in league, and really set down a good Colorado State team who, as you know, split their series in San Diego against the Aztecs, coming back from 26 down that one game, and that was their only conference loss going into that game last night.
Utah State and Boise State have separated themselves from everyone else right now. We thought it was going to be Boise State and San Diego State. Now, I think the Aztecs fully healthy with Matt Mitchell, and it's good to know that it's not a season-ending injury. It was a couple weeks with the hyperextended knee. And I still think that it's San Diego State that's the third best team in the conference, but right after them it's Colorado State. But what we saw last night, Utah State defensively is good overall. Yeah, Queta sets the tone. But also when he's aggressive, they can be a different team. He's pretty passive because for as good as Neemias Queta is, he's not putting up double-doubles as much as you think in that offense. But when he has a game like that, everyone else is clicking. They are ridiculously hard to beat.
Anderson came off the bench for 12 for them last night. They're just balanced. They don't turn the ball over much. 14 turnovers last night. They turned to Colorado State over 15 times. And then, of course, the rebounding edge goes to them 44-25. And that you start looking at some of their box scores, and the rebounding advantage that they've got is usually tremendous. And it's Bean is a terrific offensive rebounder. He's like a modern-day Danny Ainge, where he is so easy to dislike for opponents just because of facial expressions, the way he plays. But Bean has become a incredibly efficient player for them, especially on the boards. He had 8 points and 7 rebounds last night. He doesn't turn the ball over. And those two teams will go back at it again. But I just thought in this league, I agree with you on the Boise State and Utah State piece. Boise State plays tonight. You could watch them on FS1. They will play Fresno State up in Idaho. And when do those two find each other? Because I think the Boise State-Utah State series is going to be sensational. That'll be February 17th and 19th. It'll be in Boise. So, JJ, that's where it's decided. So we're going to learn a lot about Boise State here. Because they've beaten up, they've thickened up, and I think we all agree that they're good. But they've thickened up on New Mexico, who's 0-8, San Jose State, who's 0-8, Air Force, who I think has won once, Wyoming, who doesn't win a lot, Fresno, who doesn't win a lot. After the Fresno State series, they got to go to Colorado State, they got to go to Reno, they get UNLV at home, who I think is a little better, and then they finish out with their series against Utah State and San Diego State. So we're going to learn a lot about them coming down the stretch. I think they're good. Actually, I think they're really good. But I'll think a lot more of them when I watch them play San Diego State, Utah State, Colorado State. Am I?
Yes.
Okay.
The thing you look at though in those contests is it wasn't just the Lobos that beat by 20 points. So they were asserting themselves. You're absolutely right. Their strength of schedule is not the best at this point in time. So if you wanted to say, you know what, I'm going to give the advantage to Utah State for who they've beaten.
Yeah.
Got you there for just doing the power ranking game. But ultimately, I think that while they're going to suffer a couple losses during that stretch, they still, to me, are a favorite in this conference overall once you see the balance of their roster. Because coming in, you heard all about Derek Alston, Mountain West preseason player of the year. Kind of like, all right, what else is there? And there's a lot there. And especially once the transfers became eligible, and now we're talking about depth, yeah, Boise State has that too.
So you like them better than Utah State?
I do.
I think I'm going to go the other way. And again, just because I've seen them in situations. The only game, well, they beat BYU, and that's a good win. It's a 74-70 win against BYU. Houston beat them to start the season off. I just because I've seen Utah State in situations, I've seen them play close games against what we think are good teams, whether it's San Diego State. Look, they're both beating New Mexico by 30. They're both beating San Jose State by 30. I'm down. I get that. By the way, as good as this league is at the top, and we have this conversation on a regular basis, is it good to have 2 or 3 really good teams, or is it better to have balance? The projections, and Jerry will be with us tomorrow. I've seen 3. I think Jerry's got 4 Mountain West teams in the tournament right now, which we haven't said that forever. As bad as the bottom of the league is right now, the top of the league is pretty good, right? You think that there's 4, and I don't think you're ready to throw Nevada in there, but I think you would still put San Diego State there, right? Utah State, Boise State, whichever order. Colorado State, San Diego State, whichever order. You think there's 4 pretty good teams, but after that, I mean, are there okay teams? Is UNLV an okay team? Because after that, you look at it and you go, wow, there's a significant fall off.
And that's the way it's going to be 9 out of 10 times for the Mountain West.
Is it? Yeah. With that many good teams at the top, that big separate? Usually there's 1 or 2 teams that separate.
I think this is best case scenario right now for the Mountain West in terms of just quality, legit teams at the top. And then your bottom's going to be bad at times. Like, you're not going to have a year where this conference is going to be 9 or 10 deep.
Yep.
Like, the misses are going to be bad, and that happens in mid-major basketball. Could we get back to a point 10 years ago when we're looking at it legit being 5-6 teams where there's more competitiveness? Yes, it's going to have its ebbs and flows, but there is going to be more seasons like this in terms of your bad teams are going to just be really bad.
Do you buy into? Because I think I do. I think they get 3 teams in. At least as of now, as I'm looking at it, I think 3 teams is not out of the question in this crazy year. And then, and to your, well, go ahead and answer that
Yes, it's the year is odd. I have no idea what these non-conference resumes are going to look like because they're going to be so different from every single person. It would seem like it would be the opposite in a year like this, where maybe they just lean on conference schedules and go, well, we've seen the Big Ten and Big East, etc., play all these games. We like them versus more of an opportunity for mid-major leagues. But right now, it looks pretty good for the Mountain West.
But this is a year where there are some wins. San Diego State beat UCLA, and we'll see what Arizona State is. They've had a lot of COVID issues. I think they're 1-3 in the Pac-12. But UCLA is a top 10 team. San Diego State's like, well, no. Let's lead on that resume. Net rankings, you've got Boise State at 15, Utah State at 46, Colorado State 56, and San Diego State 43. And then you're looking down, you're going, whoa, New Mexico's 293. San Jose State's 329. The separation from a top 4 to the rest of the league is what's different to me. Typically, there have been 2 teams, San Diego State, New Mexico, San Diego State, Nevada, right? You got 4 teams, and I'm not sure what I think Nevada is at 5-3, 10-5. I think Steve's done a hell of a job, by the way, with that roster.
And it's the transfers, and that backcourt has saved them this season. They hit on 2 good scoring guards, and it's changed everything for them this year.
Oh, you mean someone who can put the ball in the bucket? Huh. A hell of a concept. 505-246-0610. Eddie Nunez will be with us coming up at 8 o'clock. He's the athletic director at UNM. I'll get you some of your thoughts when we come back in regards to the latest change in the public health rules, the COVID restrictions in regards to college athletics. It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM at AM 610, the Sports Animal.
You have to be.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Shoot a shoot. They'll get one off, and it'll count high off the window.
Oh my gosh.
There's the long three.
Boom.
Bang. Martinez will beat the buzzer. Got it to go. His
Fork driving kick. Three's in the air. It's good. Nice pass on the nice block by Hernandez Crawford.
And Brown in the transition. But why not, Steve? Is Corbalan's going to go and he puts it away. And Corbalan wants to put it down. Here comes Screechers. Brown, you can't leave him alone. Put it down.
Rashawn in transition. 3-on-2. Rashawn going to go all the way. Oh, Morgan. Has that ball stolen. Jeremy Segura.
Dribble, spin cycle, up and under move. What a pass. Wrap around pass.
Harris, Legate, the long bomb, 3 ball. Oh, great steal by Quinteros, lays it up and scores.
A little jump step in the... And look out, here comes Agbayosi. Crawford set. That's blocked. Lansing says, get that out of here. Sister to sister, Marianne Lansing's going to go all the way. Turnaround. Ramos, pump fake, everyone bites. Ramos hits.
Jackson loses it. David Bond back, alley-oop, put it down. Dunkalicious, how about it?
House, rise and fire. He's fouled.
You know, he used to coach for Del Norte. And
here's Voss all the way with the finish. He'll get the behind the back of the dribble. Tries to go up with the right hand. He changed hands in midair and hot it, sent it away. Wynn doing a really good job denying Chavez. DC hasn't got the ball. Oh, Yeku! Oh! Working against Watson. Oh, look at the spin move.
Dodgers lost a great one yesterday. I don't know. You got to probably be of a certain age, I'm going to guess. And if you are of that age, it probably means a lot. Did Don Sutton's passing yesterday mean anything to you? I know Micah didn't probably, right? That's way before you. But JJ, did Don Sutton mean anything to you?
I was not one that enjoyed the Don Sutton era, so it was learning about everything he did as a Dodger.
Did you know anything so we know about guys before us. I know about, I didn't see Sandy Koufax play, and I know of him, and there's plenty of guys. Did the name mean anything to you before yesterday?
I knew of Don Sutton, yes.
Okay, you did. Don Sutton was it's funny, I was on a social media post yesterday, back and forth with these dudes that I hadn't talked to forever that I played Little League Baseball with back in Tarzana. And one guy said, Don Sutton was the motion that he emulated. And I'm like, yeah, me too. Don Sutton and Tom Seaver were the two pitching motions that I emulated that I thought were the most perfect. And then when I was getting shelled, I went to the Louis Tiant thing, which was the whole. Do you remember Louis Tiant at all? Did you ever see him? He was the one who turned his back to the plate and then came all the way through. Anyway, Sutton was an unbelievable Dodger. By the way, some of the best Caucasian afro ever. Just that it was beautiful. But he passed away yesterday. 75 years old. He's a member of the 300 Club. Pitched for 25 seasons in baseball with the Dodgers and then the Braves, and he became a broadcaster with the Atlanta Braves. Dodger fan is gonna remember him forever, and he was one of the best. 300 game winner. Which, how many 300 game winners do you think we're gonna see anymore? Like that was a number. He won 324 games played, 23 years in big leagues. You guys don't go that's a stat that I know the new generation feels is just an overrated stat. Who the winning and losing pitcher, because you get your starter through the fifth, and then you got a sixth inning guy, and a seventh inning guy, and an eighth inning guy, and a ninth inning guy. This is back in the day where not only did you win 20 games or 323 games in your career, but you were pitching seventh, eighth, ninth inning, and this was a true workhorse.
Not many. Three is the answer to that question. We're not going to see a whole lot of 300 win pitchers. Just everything that's involved, longevity, how the game has changed, pitch counts, etc. So yeah, that is a huge number.
Just a little bit for those of you who don't know Don Sutton, you would say game starts a pretty good stat, right? That's just not a longevity number. That's pretty good. He's third in the history of baseball as far as games started. Cy Young is 1 at 815. Nolan Ryan is 2 at 773, and Don Sutton's next at 756 game starts. He's even ninth in history in how many batters faced, which is a crazy stat. I don't even know how you keep track of that. Elias has got how about being an intern at Elias, by the way? Right? I mean, do the interns do all the work? Because
Probably.
Some of the stuff they find is just tedious, crazy stats. But Don Sutton pitched 5 postseasons, World Series, and one was in 74, 77, 78 with the Dodgers, and 82 with the Brewers. So Don Sutton passed away, and Dodger fan, you'll remember him. He was a great one. All right, get some emails. Rod says NMA equals Charlie Brown, and the governor equals Lucy, Jeff. I got a feeling Chuck is building the momentum to kick the football only to end up on their backsides again when the governor pulls it away. I have that sickening feeling too, Rod. I think I agree with you on that. Harold said the silver lining. Jeff, out of sight, out of mind. JJ, this is an interesting take. I don't know if you believe in this or not. If there was a season for Lobo basketball to suck, this was it. If they're playing at home every night, you'd see a different lazy reporterette standing outside Dream Style doing a story about dropping attendance, finding one disgruntled student to go on camera to say the program should be dropped, etc. It's from Harold. Attendance might be down. Attendance might not be at 0-8. We'd be having attendance conversations, right?
Probably.
And I despise that. They might even go on campus to find that one student. May not even do it during the game to find the one student. Yeah, they're horrible, man. They're trash. We should drop basketball and put it into the drama. Something, right? You always find that one. I don't think he's wrong. It's one of the you know me in regards to that. It's one of the things I loathe the most is those lazy stories just to find one soundbite to fill your narrative. Dan says Juan Jose State no win tomorrow. Jeff, if Lobo basketball lives past Juan Jose State by 8 or 9 points, will callers lose their minds? Do we need a blowout, out, a laugher against the Spartans for folks' blood pressure to come down? It's from Dan. I think you need a win, bro. That's what I think. I mean, honestly, the conversation Friday morning, if they win by 6 points.
I don't think it's any different if they win by 6 or 26.
I think it's a little different.
I think the writing's on the wall for this team so far this year.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, you know who they are. Well, that's what Lobo Hobo says. Why is everyone freaking out over Lobo basketball, Jeff? Just like football, we knew their schedule was front-loaded, and the backside was the place to clean up with the potential victories. If it was reversed and Lobo basketball was 6-2 right now against the dregs of the Mountain West, would folks really feel that much better from Lobo Hobo? That's interesting. If they played Boise State's schedule, and let's say they were 4-4 right now instead of 0-8, would you feel better knowing that you still had to play Utah State and Boise State and Nevada? You still do have San Diego State. It's interesting. I'll push back a little bit on Lobo Hobo. Did you really think going into the season that San Jose State was one of those best teams? You thought that opener you had a chance. You had Colorado State postponed, and then you had San Jose State. Did you really think San Jose State was one of the better teams? Come on now. Did you?
Oh, not at the beginning of the football season.
No. Hell no, you didn't. And who'd you beat? And by the way, Lobo Hobo, now that I look at it, did you really think Wyoming and Fresno State on the back end were going to be the easy games? Really? I'll take you back to September. Did you really think that? Because I'm going to tell you I didn't. Where do you think the winnable games were? Early?
In the beginning of the season?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to push back a little bit on that.
It's, we got to use our eyes once we get there. It's preseason polls are fun, but I think at too many times we get beholden to them in regards to how we react to things. Now, if Lobo basketball was in a different situation in terms of their record, if their schedule was flipped, there would be a different feeling. But we've also seen it play out that there's deficiencies with this basketball team that aren't changing. Like, you're not all of a sudden going to go out there and hit 15 3-pointers just because you're playing San Jose State.
Well, it's actually kind of interesting the way this schedule did play out because let's say they do win some games down the stretch. They do beat San Jose State. They do get some Air Force wins, maybe a Wyoming win. Is it fool's gold? Are you going into the, Eddie's got to evaluate this. Paul's going to say, look, we got better. Right? We got better. And you're going to say, well, yeah, you beat up on San Jose State and Air Force and
I wouldn't say it's fool's gold. I think what it would show you is just where you are as a team this year is there's the upper echelon on the Mountain West. You're not there, but these teams, you're better than, say,
maybe
2 or 3 of them.
Yeah,
in this
but if it was
year.
the other way around, if you started out, I don't know if you'd have beat any of those teams right now, to be honest with you. I have no idea.
Like, I don't – with the basketball that we've watched this season with this team, if they went into a stretch of Boise State, Utah State, Nevada, 4-4, I don't think it changes. Are they losing maybe by 15 points a game instead of 25?
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't see that if they played San Jose State or Air Force out of the gate, that all of a sudden that means you can compete with Utah State and Boise State.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was reversed and you get beat. Hey, Micah, are we just blowing out this top of the hour break? Are we taking it? Or are we not doing it? What are we doing? Are we on time?
1 minute.
Eddie Nunez is due to be with us right at the top of the hour. And so hopefully we'll be able to hit that. Going to talk to him about all these decisions that are made, how they're made, what next. And we'll get back to your phone calls. You can send emails, jeff@610knml.com, jj@610knml.com. We'll get into Tiger surgery. You can get more into the Met situation if you would like. Big signing in baseball. And the NBA trade, the James Harden trade, may have saved one guy's life, and it wasn't James Harden's. 505-246-0610. It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal. You have Eddie's number?
Ball's loose. DJ Bustos brings it up. Bars Tompkins, alley-oop. How about it? That was redunculous.
Turnover. Cable to the big fella might try to jam one home.
Progress yesterday. I don't know that you're there yet. You're not home free, but certainly progress yesterday. How you got there, why you got there, we'll get into that. But progress yesterday is the state's COVID-safe practices for intercollegiate sports. The guidelines were amended. It's going to allow college teams to practice. We're going to talk about practice, not games. Not the games you sweat and kill yourself for. Practice. Going to allow them to be on campus. In our state, that means they can live at home. That means they don't have to live out of residence inns in Lubbock or whatever the beautiful resort is in Phoenix the Aggies are at, or wherever the Lobo men happen to be. Lake Las Vegas, Hilton. No, they can come home and practice. They can't play games yet. It's the opening drive, Jeff Siembieda and J.J. Buck. They can play games on the road, but not at home. So how did we get there? Eddie Nunez, and I've told you this a number of times, you are fortunate that this is the gentleman who is leading your athletic department through a very, very tumultuous time in college athletics. And you don't hear from him every day, but he is, and I know this for a fact, and I've worked with Eddie in regards to what we were trying to do with the bowl game, but I've heard it from the governor's office. He has worked tirelessly on behalf of the student athletes to get to this point, and certainly this isn't the end game. But he's done a terrific job, and yesterday was nice to see some progress. Eddie Nunez is the athletic director. The University of New Mexico, he joins us on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. Congratulations on a step. Certainly not the end of the process, but yesterday was some positives.
I appreciate it. Great to speak with both of you this morning. No, it's you hit the nail on the head. It was a victory for our student athletes. The next step. You know, we still have a long road ahead of us with just managing this. This is going to be a challenge, just like everyone prior to this was. So, what it allows us and why it's so appreciative from everybody here at UNM is it gives me the ability to tell all our spring sports and all our student athletes, that they have the ability to work out here to be able to compete this spring. Because unfortunately, if we weren't able to obtain this opportunity, that these kids weren't going to be able to compete here, because we just could not be able to manage all the other sports, all basically living outside of the state. So really grateful for the opportunity. Our student athletes have been really working hard at home during the holidays. I mean, many of our coaches have been telling me, so really excited for this for them.
Eddie, timing's interesting, and I give Jeff Grammer a lot of credit for the story he published last week, and I know it ruffled some feathers. And we've talked on our show about the hypocrisy or the double standard with United. I'm not going to ask you necessarily to get into that, but did you feel a little bit more movement since in the last week coming from the governor's office? Because I know this was a big week. Your student athletes are back on campus. You've got competition scheduled, and you needed to have an answer for them whether they're going forward. So did you feel more movement, and they've got the session starting yesterday. Did they listen more? Did you feel more receptive conversations in the last week?
Yeah, I would say, but I have not stopped the conversation or reaching out to them. Really, the month of December, one of the main focuses for myself was trying to put all the data that now we had on the table from our experiences with football, the whole Mountain West, their numbers, what we've shown within our communities in Vegas, in Texas, here, showing how those teams have not spread into the community haven't spread into us. Not once have one of our student athletes, knock on wood, had to use a hospital bed, which is a concern here in our state. So when we looked at all the data and everything that we can provide, I think I know the conversation it intensified over the last several weeks, and I know many people wanted and Jeff did a great job, with the article, and it's unfortunate, but the reality is we were excited to see United out there practicing, because that means that there was some honest dialogue about the ability to move forward, and that's all we were asking for, and really appreciative for the Chief of Staff, Matt Garcia, Governor Lujan Grisham, Stephanie Rodriguez, everybody that had a hand in this, to really say, you know what, let's get on a Zoom call, let's work out all the details, and we did that. We really it got there on Monday, and working all behind the scenes and everything else, we were able to work out a lot of the details. We still have a long way to go. We do. We understand that, but it has to be a working relationship, and that's something I've stated since day one. And so to see United out there practicing gave us some hope as well. Sure, we had some frustration, but we also understood that we had to continue to go down the path we were going, and hopefully be an example for all the other state schools and for the high schools as a path forward. So we're here to help. And that's been my number one focus, is the health and safety of our student athletes, but doing it the right way.
Well, Eddie, of course, the protocols are not going to change. Testing is still in place because that's still the focus. But from the mental side of it, the mental health of the student athletes, how big is it for them, to maybe have this stressor off their mind and at least be back to a familiar place, knowing practicing, there's going to be a better schedule, just everything that goes into it on that side. What do you think that does for them and just really everyone in the athletic department?
Oh, it's truly a game changer. I think we've seen it firsthand in with basketball and football. The challenges it imposes on our student athletes, our coaches, our families, everybody involved, our staff. So to be able to get them home, first of all, and to be able to give our other student athletes, who, as Jeff said, many of them are back already because school started yesterday, are in the process of wanting to get back to some normal. Now, there's nothing really normal about we're still going through, but we understand that for them to have the ability to exercise, to work out, to better their skills, to be able to go out there and compete, and do it here, at their own facility, at the facilities they've been accustomed to, there's a lot to be said for that. So I'm really excited because the mental health of the anxiety of our student athletes that we've seen during COVID has been higher than it should be. And so we're doing everything we can with our mental health specialists and everything else. But this really is going to give us a leg up with that. And I think our women's basketball is going to be a true testament to that. They've been able to generate energy when they do come back, even if even if it's for a couple days, they generate some energy. And men's basketball has had the ability to do the same. So hopefully we can utilize that energy to propel us when we go on the road. It's not ideal, but it is what it is, and we're gonna pivot and continue to adapt with the circumstances that are thrown at us.
UNM Athletic Director Eddie Nunez joining us on the opening drive. And I know there were a lot of schedule changes in the fall. So in the spring, there's the sports we're accustomed to happening. But what else is on the schedule, and who could be looking at now playing and having a season due to this change?
Well, I mean, the ability for us to do what we were given yesterday, which was to be able to travel in and out of our state with the current testing parameters that are in place that will allow us to test before we leave as well as when we arrive. So that gives us a flexibility to be able to do what we need to do here, and then also be able to practice here. That's going to open up everything for all sports: women's soccer, volleyball. Golf's actually have a competition this weekend. They were able to get one this weekend, although it's on the road and it's a driving distance. So those are things that really makes it exciting about where we're going forward. And yes, these aren't money makers. This isn't an opportunity for us to generate millions of dollars. What it is it allows our student athletes to do what they came here to do and compete, represent while still earning a degree. I mean, the last 2 semesters prior, we've set an all-time record in GPA. So our kids are continuing to do everything they can academically, representing this community. You've seen with Teton Saltese winning the Warfel Award. That's just an example of many of our student athletes and what they've been doing during this time to help their communities, Albuquerque, the state, New Mexico. So it's to be able to give them back this, and so they can go out there and play, to see the tennis and the golfers and the volleyball players and the track, and the ability for cross country to get out there and compete for another national championship. Those are the kind of things that we strive for here.
Eddie, what do you do for housing? I know the model has been football, certainly controlled environment, basketball, controlled environment. Do they just go back to the student living, or is it a controlled environment now that they're back?
It's as controlled as can be. So, and I think Mario kind of highlighted some of this yesterday. The good part is the majority of the students are not coming back this semester because of the virtual online school. So you have less students already on campus. Most of our student athletes, if not all, do live with teammates. So we're able to basically control it within the housing component they live in. They're still going to have requirements of you're not going partying, you're not going to be doing all the things that unfortunately maybe you wanted to do as a college student at one point. You're still going to be restricted. We have expectations here. They understand for us to be able to be successful, they have to do certain things. So a lot of this falls on them and our coaches to be able to say, look, we're going to have to sacrifice some things. We're going to have to sacrifice, going out and hanging out with somebody else. And if I want to compete and I want to represent the state, and because it is important for us to do it. I'm not going to sit here and say that we're not going to have any positive cases. They're going to happen. We know there are. But the big thing is that we mitigate it, and if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're in the controlled space, we can control the situation. We can control the potential of an outbreak, all those many things that are concerning. So from a housing side, the current way they're living allows us to be able to manage it. Is it a true bubble? No, but but the housing component, the way it is, most of our student athletes, again, they live with each other or they live in the vicinity of other ones. So we're able to control that quadrant or that pod or that room or that apartment. So it does give us a lot more flexibility than just any typical student living somewhere in the city or just randomly on campus.
Right. UNM Athletic Director Eddie Nunez is with us for a few more minutes. So explain to people as far as competition. You've not been cleared for home competitions yet. And this Mario's got a little advantage over you. He's 40 miles, 30 miles away from a major city with facilities. Do you play all road competitions? Do you find a site for competitions? And I would guess that's going to be fluid. And then the path towards being able to have home competitions.
Well, for basketball, we're going to continue to work with the opportunities that are in front of us. So we're going to continue to look at Lubbock for the couple home games that we have left. Same thing with women's basketball. We're going to continue to look at see if those are possibilities. There is the whole other side that we can just go on the road and compete the last several games, even if they're supposed to be at home on the road. We're going to try. We're working with our coaches, working with our student athletes to figure out what's the best scenario for us. Is it practicing here and traveling to Lubbock to be able to come to play? Yeah, Mario. I mean, and New Mexico State has an opportunity of being closer to the border. The fact is, from our perspective, we've been able to make it work. We've got to be able to now figure out what's in the best interest of the factors that we have in front of us. So all the other sports, for at least the month of January and February, part of February, they're going to just look at their schedules. Any home game they had set, they're going to go ahead and, if they haven't already, because many of them have already made it so that the whole month of February and January are on the road regardless. So backload the home games on the backside so that if we do have an opportunity to come back, we can play those home games in March or late February. So I was really excited and appreciative of the governor's office willing to sit down again in a week or two to be able to just say, let's start discussing the ability to have home contests. We do feel that we can do it more successfully here because it's a more controlled space and we know all the factors that go into it. Having lived on the road, we understand all the nuances, but the fact is we've got to take the steps. And this is the first step, and we're not going to rush and say we need to be home and we need to have fans. And no, by all means, let's take the step to get them to practice here. Let's start traveling. Let's continue to work with the governor's office. They're in this the legislative session right now, so they've got a lot on their plate. So we want to be respectful. We want to work, and I want to continue to do what I can for the Highlands of the world, Western, Eastern. We've had great conversations with all the ADs of those schools, and I want to continue to help where we can during this process with them. So. Right now, it's part of it. It's part of the process. We'll continue to see what opportunities present themselves with the governor's office, and when we get it, we'll take advantage of it.
Eddie, of course, this has been a time really the last year. There's going to be challenging situations, but it doesn't make it any easier to deal with them. How has it been working with the Mountain West Conference and all the other schools throughout the process with so many moving pieces on a daily basis?
Well, I'll tell you, it gets harder every day because you don't want to continue to be the person coming in the room and saying, here we are, we're the only ones doing that have these challenges. But the fact is, every school's got its own challenges. Ours might be a little more extreme, but the best part about it is every Mountain West AD president understood from the beginning that we were all going to be facing some things that we couldn't control. And so as long as we're all in this together, and we're going to be accommodating each other, that was going to be part of this. And you saw it with football, with not just us going to Las Vegas and UNLV helping, but it was us helping San Jose State with football. And then we're doing the same in basketball. So we all know that for this league to be successful, for us to be able to compete, put games on television so we can all generate the financial opportunity television-wise as well, all that requires us to be accommodating, adapting with the circumstances. So I can't say thank you enough to every one of my counterparts at all those schools for what they've done and how they've understood. And we're going to be here for them too. As I said since the beginning, this is a two-way street. This isn't just us asking for everything. This is us helping where we can as well.
Yeah, hopefully people are sending you some thank you notes for what you've been doing, because I know how tireless it's been, and we've had JJ a lot of conversations as I was trying to get a bowl game played here, and Eddie was incredibly helpful in that regard. Hey, congratulations on getting this far. I know that it was a big step and a lot of work, continued success, and appreciate, as always, you spending some time with us. Be well.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And again, fans, keep cheering us on. It's not going to be what you've seen in the past this year. It's a little bit challenging, but stay with these kids. They deserve your support now more than ever. So really appreciate it. Go Lobos.
All right, we'll talk soon. Thank you, Eddie. Eddie Nunez, the athletic director at UNM. Obviously a lot there, and we'll unwrap that when we get back. You can get in as well at 505-246-0610 on the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, The Sports Animal.
You're crazy.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
They got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides looking, still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
Third and 6. Big defensive play coming up here. Little trickery to Reese. See you later. Touchdown. They went for the deep ball to Reese.
To the right, single receiver split to the left. Play fake, head up the middle, got some room. 50, 45, 40, has one man to beat. 30, 25, 10, 5, touchdown. Touchdown, Hope.
Wow.
On a
Option again, he'll keep it. Now he'll pitch it. Comes out to the 30, 25, 20, up the sideline. Still inbounds, into the end zone. Let's see.
Touchdown.
Touchdown, Portel.
The outside of running an out route. Davis in a play action, looking. He's going to go back to Lewis, and Lewis makes a cut, and Lewis still on his feet. Dorian Lewis is in for a touchdown. Back to toss it. He's got all day. It's one miss, and he's rolling. He's got a guy. Can he get it there? Davison to Luke Weissong.
We told you he
touchdown.
Could spin that football, and that was a throw right there. I know he's got the win in his back, but
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
To create space, he gives it off to Rivas for the 3, and he buries it.
Gonna be coming in soon. Double pick set for Avalos. Goes to the right. Avalos puts it up high. Window. Scores it as foul.
Right here by Lewis all the way, coast to coast, and finish.
What a...
Around the screen, against White. Step back, it's blocked. JB with the block.
In transition, ahead to hit on for the two-hand hammer.
Minutes to go. They've got a shot. They have a chance, and it's put up, and it's good. What a 3 that is by Jalen.
puts it up.
Rebound Cowboys. Right side, David Hall.
To say, there was a lot there, and the battle's not finished. Really, that's what it comes down to. It's just not done. But progress yesterday to bring the student athletes home. Why is it so important to be able to practice but not play? Well, obviously, cost-wise, there was no way, JJ, they were going to be able to go take volleyball and golf and tennis and baseball and find homes everywhere and afford to do that. They just couldn't do that. And so that's why this week was so important with competition and spring sports beginning. It was make or break. And the timing was, that's why I asked the question on the timing. And again, I give Jeff Grammer a lot of credit for the attention he brought to the situation. And look, people got riled up peacefully. But the fact that why, and I told you, there's a passionate Lobo base, a passionate Aggie base. Why are they able to do it and we're not? And I think at that point, people in Santa Fe listened, and we got to a point now where you got Lobo athletics, Aggie athletics, everybody else collegiately able to practice, and they're going to be able to compete.
Well, and it was, how is it not changed? I think when we were dealing with it last year, there was still a lot of uncertainty. So going into the fall with scheduling uncertainties of conferences, what was it going to look like? The schedules being pushed back, it was an issue of, are we even going to get to play? Now that we've seen it play out, and then we're here once again in a situation in which we saw the pro versus collegiate issues last year. So it was nothing new, but it was, why isn't there movement? Why hasn't there been, progression to see, all right, we've seen what collegiate athletics has done as a whole, so why is that still stagnant? Why is that still the same here in the state of New Mexico? And yeah, we're of course we're laser focused on basketball right now, but the fact that they can practice means spring sports. It means that there's other student athletes that are going to have the ability to participate. When so much this year has been lost from the collegiate experience, regular students, they're not going to have a regular year. Like it's not going to happen. But when it comes to at least collegiate athletics, if there's something you can do positively, if there's something you can do to get them on the field and to participate, do it. And we're seeing that happen right now.
Keep in mind, you're not home free yet. Now they've got to perform. Now it's really on the student athletes and UNM to keep the testing where it needs to be, to be responsible, to not go out and just say, all right, we're free, because you're not. And now it's really on the student athletes, and more so than on the student athletes than it is the administration. But they've got to perform, because if all of a sudden you start seeing multiple positives in every program, now we got a problem. Now everything that Eddie fought for, you've got a problem. So you're not home yet. John, good morning. You're on the Quans Auto Care Hotline. How are you, John?
Good morning. I was just listening to the show, and I heard that Don Sutton passed away, and I just wanted to share a memory of my first Major League Baseball game that I went to.
Yeah, please.
Oh, so it was June 8th, 1987, and it was the California Angels versus the Cleveland Indians, and it was Don Sutton versus Phil Niekro. And it was just amazing. They were both, Don Sutton was 42, Phil Niekro was 48. And it was two guys in their 40s, and Phil Niekro's last year, and the final score was 2-0. And I became a huge baseball fan because of that, watching this pitching battle of two guys in their 40s. And I was really saddened to hear that Don Sutton passed away and Phil Niekro recently. So it was something you'll never see again, two guys in their 40s, two future Hall of Famers, and it really got me hooked on baseball. And I just wanted to thank you for your show. I'm a huge fan, and thank you for letting me share that memory.
It's great stuff, John. Thank you. I don't know that you'll never see it again. I think there's, it'll be an oddity that you see two guys in their 40s again. You don't think?
Well, not one that's 48 pitching in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, 48. Probably not 48. I'll give you on the 48. Yeah, Phil Niekro went deep. Now that's what the knuckleball can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Niekro went deep. Yeah. I mean, you just saw two quarterbacks in their 40s go at each other the other day.
Young 40s, they're still spry. 42,
but 40s nonetheless, man. At some point, you draw the line, right? You're in your 40s or you're not.
Nothing like
all right,
the early 40s.
You're either in your 40s or you're not, right?
Once you get to the late 40s, watch out.
I know. 48. Yeah, Don Sutton, Phil Niekro. I at the risk of being back when I was a kid guy, like I loved baseball in that era. I loved the era of I saw online today that the Dodger infield, Garvey, Lopes, Russell, and Say. Steve Garvey at first, Davey Lopes, Bill Russell, Ron Say. Most of them, all who came through Albuquerque with the Dukes. That infield was together 8.5 years, JJ. And they were, I mean, obviously they were really good or they wouldn't have been together 8.5 years. Can you imagine that happening in the era of free agency today? Like an infield that's going to stay together. And look, yeah, they're not going to start every game, and I'll even give you load management. But your main players at those positions, 8.5 years, and they were homegrown.
I think now you're like 5. You're like, oh, that's a great run. I think if you look at, say, like the Houston Astros.
That's where I was going. Yeah.
And then, of course, with the news, George Springer, outfielder, but still the core of that team was really, Springer, Altuve, Correa, and then Bregman came up the last few years. Like that run is like, wow. Now it's over after.
Because somebody's going to get paid.
4 or 5 really good years, yeah.
Yeah, you can only pay so many of them, and that's where it was. But that's good stuff, John. Back at Anaheim Stadium and watching Don Sutton and Phil Niekro go at each other. It was just a terrific era of baseball. All right, 505-246-0610. So we'll reset for you. If you're just joining us, I'll explain to you what yesterday's decision means, what it does not mean. You can certainly get in on what Eddie Nunez had to say and what the next steps are. That's coming up next. Gentlemen, hope the new year is off to a great start. How you feeling? Hope you're feeling fantastic. But if you are not, if you're feeling sluggish, dealing with fatigue, low energy, low T, or erectile dysfunction, you can take care of it. You can call New Mail and you can feel like you again. New Mail is the leader in men's health. They're here in Albuquerque. And they've helped thousands of men all over the country feel better. What's more important than your health, especially in these times? Nothing. Taking care of you, feeling well, is a priority. New Mail makes it possible. Call them at 505-652-1688 or visit newmail.com. That's NUMALE.com. The whole process is comfortable. The results are absolutely real, from the phone call to your first visit all the way through the treatment. New Mail will be with you. They'll help you take care of low energy, even hair loss, erectile dysfunction. Their testosterone replacement utilizes cutting-edge technology. They're out front of this when it comes to men's health, so call them at 505-652-1688. Guys, take care of yourself. Make the call. Visit newmail.com or call 505-652-1688 and feel better.
Moreno extra pass. And Watson. Out with it, Gallegos, and he's going to run all the way. Window, yes! Able to get out of it. How did he find Battle? It's to Cunningham, and it...
I mean, Ramos' hand.
Ramos puts it up, beats the buzzer!
Boy, Jefferson wide open.
Jefferson to Daraji! Into Watson with the jam!
Another steal by Davina Lovato, and here comes Agbaiosi. Lob, two-hand hammer. You knew that was coming. The lob tagged by Osi, the one-hand hammer.
Put up. And a drive from Parham.
get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what he'll
just shoot it.
He's going to go all the way.
He's going to fire at the buzzer, and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much.
Tie in the district. Inside, fly, Eagles.
Chavez uses some athleticism. And then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds. And look at this, stripped, stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Couldn't have said that any better. He answered the question. He
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
To the paint. Medina from the volleyball lines. Medina wants another one from deep. Oh, he wants 10. Give him 10.
Lewis finds Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Volcano Vista, but just all the different scenarios we could see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.
Oh! Ho, ho, ho!
Lovato driving. They're going to count it.
Gallegos. Ooh, a little spin and a finish.
Here's Natalia Chavez. Good spin. Takes it.
Here's Ramos. Nice jump stop to the.
Maybe gambling a little bit. Oh, there's a. Hill, little step, high window, with a.
Got the second.
To the middle. Here we go. 3.9. It's Cooper.
I know many of you are watching what's going on with the inauguration. Appreciate you spending some time with us this morning on the opening drive. JJ, this is something. It's the first time in the history the vice president has ever walked up the steps in high heels, to the best of my knowledge or anybody else's knowledge. It's somewhat of an accomplishment. 2021.
It is.
I don't know that Spiro Agnew or Mike Pence or Walter Mondale or anybody did that. Maybe they did. I don't know that it was documented. So there you go. Glenn sent me an email. He says, did Nunez just bury the NMAA? Jeff, I don't think the NMAA can have a season if they can't start until March 1st, and even beginning then sounds far from written in stone. That's only 2 months until senior graduations. You still have a spring break week in there. It's from Glenn. If that happens, how can you possibly put that on Eddie Nunez? I'm just curious, Glenn, where you're going. Did he bury them?
No, I think he was referring to the timeline, not like Eddie doing anything personally, but the timeline he was talking about in addressing in-person competition. You would have to feel would have, like, if the Lobos aren't playing games against someone else, how would they let high schools do that?
Look, I obviously they're being handled as two completely separate entities, and they are separate entities, but it's completely separate. I mean, pro sports, college sports, and then high school sports. I hope high school competition happens soon. I'm as not optimistic as most of you, if that even makes sense. Eddie's fought for a lot of these things. Eddie's been the voice for not just his institution, but all the institutions around the state, and he's fought for high schools. He's fought for the New Mexico Bowl. Eddie's been a big picture guy, and is a very, very measured, prepared, and I've told you this before, and look, I've watched, I know a little bit about college athletics, the inner workings. I've talked to a lot of athletic directors in the Mountain West Conference over the last bunch of months, and I've told you, you feel very fortunate that this is the guy that's been leading you through this situation. Eddie's a leader. He's respected, and he's done it the right way. And as he become frustrated at times, man, he's handled it a lot better than I might have. But I've got so much respect for the way he's done this and the way he's handled it in such a hard situation, in a state where you don't get a lot of support anyway, and now you've just been kind of left out to dry. And to be able to have a football season and have a basketball season and take care of his student athletes the way they've been doing and do it successfully, I give that man a lot of credit. Edward, good morning. You're on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. Good morning, Edward.
You know, I have full respect and admiration for the job that he's done. I think he's done a tremendous job, as illustrated what you just mentioned, just now. So it was a good interview and good content, and we learn every time he comes on, the challenges and everything else that's going on. But on to more important things. Today's a Costco-worthy type of day. You know what today is? Today's my 5th favorite NBA player in the league's 21st birthday. Tyler Hero. You're my hero. I might sport his jersey today as I go, sharpen the saw at the gym. And before he's traded, they're probably going to actually trade him, unfortunately. So I'll have to get another Tyler Hero jersey. But I thought I'd share that sentiment with you this morning. I was walking into work yesterday, and there's a gentleman from the Detroit area, big Lions fan. And I said, hey, what are your thoughts on them freaking hiring the most uniquely unqualified individual as a head coach and giving them a 6-year contract? The Lions freaking hired Dan Campbell and gave him a 6-year contract, and he works in the security area at work. And I turned to the guy standing next to him and I said, hey, how about you? Why don't they hire you? Are you interested in coaching the Lions? What are they doing? What are they doing? Matt Patricia was a stretch, right? Great defensive coordinator from the Patriots, and he bombed out. What the heck are the Lions doing? And the guy just shook his head and said, I've got no answers.
What makes him so unqualified?
I said, I'm not even a Lions fan, and I'm disappointed, I told him. That's such a pathetic hire. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, what makes him so unqualified?
Uniquely unqualified.
What makes him so uniquely unqualified?
He's had a stint with Miami, didn't fare well. He was a tight ends coach, right? Mm-hmm. And other people come from the coordinator route. But with all these young, dynamic, I'm going to answer your question. With all these young, dynamic, brilliant minds, and maybe the guy said maybe he's the only one that wanted the job, which might be quite succinctly the case. I'm so disappointed for the Lions, and their organization. It's just a bad move. But I just think he's kind of a retread guy. He came from, I think, the Cowboys organization. I think he was a tight end or an offensive lineman, and then he was an offensive line coach. Then he got a temporary stint with the Dolphins. It's just bad, just generally bad, and I'm disappointed for them. Coming into the conference championship weekend, I'm thoroughly excited. I think there's some teams that are playing with house money that you mentioned. I think the Chiefs are playing with house money, as demonstrated by their risk-taking this past weekend. I think actually Tampa Bay is playing with some house money. Nobody expected them to beat the Saints, and I don't expect them to beat Green Bay, and I think they're going to come out loose. And I think they need to challenge that Green Bay secondary and try to run the ball on them late in the game. And if it's close, anything could happen. But, I think we're in for hopefully 2 great games because we've had some kind of lopsided affairs recently. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on Dan Campbell, and I just don't understand the logic. By the way, I think there was – I rarely go political. There was so many dang pardons last night. Lil Wayne got a pardon.
31. Yeah, Lil Wayne got one. I think there were 131 last night. Yeah.
I read that the Tiger King, the main, rented a limo because he expected a pardon from the president.
Did he get one?
And he didn't get one. He didn't get one.
He still has an hour.
Everybody under the sun got a pardon. Maybe we could issue some pardons on this show, right?
No, but he still gets. There's still an hour left. We'll see. All right, man.
Hey, thanks for letting me rant this morning. Have a great day, guys.
What do you think of Dan Campbell?
I need to issue a pardon on that Dan Campbell take. If you don't think it's a good hire, that's fine, because we've all had those opinions on it. To the extent of uniquely unqualified, why? He had no answer for that. He had no answer for that. Edward came in with the scorching hot take, and he didn't have, well, I would have hired this guy. What is Eric Bieniemy? Who would you have hired? Sometimes your head coach, maybe you need him to not come in and think he is the best thing since sliced bread. What you need out of Dan Campbell is to put together a good staff. And maybe he brings in one of those young, dynamic offensive minds that can figure out a way to have consistency with Matthew Stafford at quarterback. And by the way, he's been working with Sean Payton, who, while might not be young, has been a pretty dynamic offensive coach in this game over the last few years. And if you bring up his stint in Miami, you have to mention that he was an interim coach for 12 games and went 5-7.
Yeah, interim head coach. He's been the assistant to the head coach in New Orleans, and he played in Detroit. And obviously, there was something to it. I just not. I sometimes these under the radar hires end up being pretty good. All right, we're going back to the phones at 505-246-0610 when we get back. Got two lines open for you. It's yours on the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
With Allstate, you can really save. New ways to save.
He's going to swing it out to Lowry. Portillo couldn't get it off, and Clovis goes in. It's waved off. He did not get it off in time. Portillo.
Reverse layup. Gallegos spins. Window. Finishes.
There's a run coming from
lazy pass. Here comes Crawford. It might be showtime.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Call it as Javi's looking, and he's got a guy wide open, and it's Gay, and he's gonna walk into the end zone. But he did a good job with it. First and goal, it's Chavez to the middle, and Chavez stops.
And Stevens in motion. On the handoff to Mitchell. Look out! Oh, see you later. Take it to the house. Fly, Cardinals fly. To the other side, provide some protection. And off to Webskowski again. Look out. See you later. Good night. Touchdown, Webskowski. All day. He's going to fire to the end zone. Open man! Touchdown! Wildcat! Not a defender inside.
A little bit.
Kowski on the sideline! Asta Manana! He's off to the races! Touchdown! Clovis!
Albuquerque this afternoon.
34-24. Rancho late in the third. How about this run? Nice play. Dickerman, he's still on his feet. Touchdown, Wolverine.
Exactly what they want to get yards.
He's going to go for it. He's got a guy towards the end zone. It's Krebs. Touchdown. What a play.
here for the Storm. Handoff to, we're going to fake the handoff, excuse me. Davidson on the deep ball, he's got some space, and it's caught! Still on his feet, touchdown, Storm! Wow. Santa Maria!
And so they'll send one deep and returnable at the 2. Usually Volcano do either a reverse or a fake reverse, and here it is a reverse. And a move to the outside. There is a lane. Look out! Shot out of a cannon. Rodriguez is going to take it all the way.
Second fielder has got 4 points. Watson, though, goes all the way.
Hit the deck, I should say. Cordova tried to throw it off. Romero, a 3 for...
Set out to Jutapia. Nice move behind his back. It's a good... Here's Ramos, step back, high arcing,
Dude, I just got a text from a buddy of ours. Missed Eddie was on a Zoom. What did he say? Eddie Nunez was on for what, about 15 minutes? I mean, a lot. We'll post it on our Facebook page.
Following the show, we'll post the interview on our podcast page, wherever you get your podcast. Search for The Opening Drive. Download it, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that. All right, back to it. 505-246-0610. Jeffrey, good morning. You're on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. Good day, sir.
Good day. Congratulations to Eddie. Thanks to you, I've gotten to know him, and I absolutely respect what he's doing. But I have a Don Sutton story. I think it was June 1974. So my grandfather was always a baseball aficionado. He actually played Double-A baseball for a summer in like 1952 or something. Anyway, he took me and my brother to the Dodger game. This is 74. This is back when there was a little ticket office on the footprint that was at the base of Travis Ravine. So at this little ticket office, you could actually buy tickets. And keep in mind, it's in the middle of the day. We went to Dodger Stadium. I'm sitting there at the little ticket office, and all of a sudden, this guy, in a golf cart comes, just sort of makes an appearance. And it's Don Sutton. And, there are like 12 of us standing in a little line in this little nondescript little ticket office at the base of Travis Ravine. And I said, "Hey, you're Don Sutton," or somebody said that. I think it was me. Anyway, he said, "Yeah, I'm Don Sutton. How you doing?" And, I think I was like the only kid there amongst these 12 people buying tickets. And he said, "Where are you from, son?" or something. And I said, "I'm from Albuquerque." And he said, "I used to be an Albuquerque Dodger." And he was sitting next to Steve Yeager, the catcher who had played on the AAA 72 team. And he said, "Oh, I used to play at Albuquerque." And it became this conversation about Albuquerque. And I'm talking to these major leaguers going to my first Dodger game. And he couldn't have been a nicer guy. And I just remember he had curly hair.
Yep.
And he didn't pitch that night, but I always remember following his career. Of course, I knew who he was because I was a huge Dodger fan all my life. But to your point, he had just beautiful, fluid mechanics that were extremely methodical. Him and Tom Seaver, I think you pointed that out. Yep. And I just always remember he was so nice. And the fact that both of these guys sitting at a golf cart with their little Dodger hats on, major leaguers, and they knew where Albuquerque, New Mexico was. It just made such a enormous impression on me. And he couldn't have been a nicer guy. I didn't really engage with Yeager, but he did say, "Oh yeah, I used to play with the Albuquerque Dukes," I think he said. But Hey,
I'm going to ask you a question. You may know this. I'm going to ask you a trivia question because Don Sutton's number was retired by the Dodgers. So of all the numbers retired by the Dodgers, only one of those players is still alive. Do you know who it is?
Oh my gosh, I don't. I should.
It's Koufax.
Who is it?
It's Koufax.
Oh
Koufax,
yeah,
which is
that
crazy.
Makes sense. And a lot of folks forget Koufax only played about 8 years.
That's right.
And he was dominant as a left-hander.
He was a Gale Sayers
really
kind
of
a
guy.
Yeah,
and
he was a Gale Sayers kind of
I think
career.
in 66, 65. But yeah, but anyway, just Don Sutton, and I'm sitting there, and these two people on a golf cart, were buying tickets, and it was just amazing. He didn't pitch that night, but that was the same year I believe they played Oakland and lost in 6 games. The Oakland Athletics and but anyway, Don Sutton, just a kind guy, both very aware of Albuquerque, and it just made such an impression on a little kid in 1974.
And that's how you'll become a fan for life. Great stuff, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks.
JJ, that's how, you become fans of a team of players for life. When you're a kid and you have an experience like that. Steve Yeager came to some events when I was a kid in the Valley, and it was incredible. And I don't know if I ever told you this. My dad, when I was a kid, JJ, my dad was a caterer in Los Angeles. He had a catering company. And one of his accounts was Metro Media Channel 11, which was the home of the Dodgers. And so he catered the Dodgers Christmas parties for a number of years. And I got to go. I was invited. And again, that's how you become a fan, right? When you're hanging out. And so I was there for the Christmas party with one year with the Dodgers and their families. And I remember Sutton, Yeager, and I remember Steve Garvey, 3 of them specifically, just being outwardly gracious. And it's stories like that when you're a kid, like Jeffrey's talking about, you stumble upon something like that. That's how you become a fan of a sport, of a team, and certainly of people over the years. Those impressions last forever.
You never know what moment is going to connect, whether it's, hi, how you doing, good, where you're from, cool story, been there, done that, have a good day. But something that can spark a fire for a lifetime.
The other one was Jimmy Wynn. Do you remember Jimmy Wynn, the toy cannon? Came over from Houston, and they moved into our hood, and actually went to school with his son for a while. He went to our elementary school, and Jimmy would come by and talk at school. And another one, just loved the toy cannon, Jimmy Wynn.
1 minute.
It was great stuff. But Don Sutton was as good mechanically as a pitcher. If you go back and look at some of his highlights, just the smooth, fluid windup. Him and Tom Seaver always kept their eyes on the target. That was one thing I always remembered. Until JJ ditched the whole thing one year and just went turn your back to it and just fire. But Don Sutton was as good as there was. Just as good as there was. All right, I'll text everything that Eddie just said during the break to our friend. 505-246-0610. It's the opening drive. Jeff Siembieda, JJ Buck. Jay Pohl and Alden on the TV side. Micah's producing on the radio side. It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Call it as Javi's looking, and he's got a guy wide open, and it's Gay, and he's going to walk into the end zone. But he did a good job with it. First and goal, it's Chavez to the middle, and Chavez stops.
And Stevens in motion. On the handoff to Mitchell. Look out! Oh, see you later. Take it to the house. Fly, Cardinals fly. To the other side, provides some protection. And off to Webskowski again. Look out! See you later. Good night. Touchdown, Webskowski. An 8. 2 receivers at the top. Harris has all day. He's going to fire to the end zone. Open man. Touchdown. Wildcat. Not a defender inside.
A little bit.
Webskowski on the sideline. Hasta mañana. He's off to the races. Touchdown, Clovis!
Albuquerque this afternoon.
34-24, Rancho late in the third. How about this run? Nice play. Dickerman, he's still on his feet. Touchdown, Wolverine!
Exactly what they want to get yards.
He's going to go for it. He's got a guy towards the end zone. It's grabbed. Touchdown. What a play.
And long here for the Storm. Handoff to, we're going to fake the handoff, excuse me. Davidson on the deep ball. He's got some space, and it's caught. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Storm. Wow. Santa Maria.
And so they'll send one deep and returnable at the 2. Usually Volcano do either a reverse or a fake reverse, and here it is a reverse. And a move to the outside. There is a lane. Look out! Shot out of a cannon. Rodriguez is going to take it all the way.
Second field goal, he's got 4 points. Watson, though, goes all the way.
In the deck, I should say. Cordova tried to throw it off. Romero, a 3 for...
Set out to Jutapia. Nice move behind his back. It's a good...
Here's Ramos, step back, high arcing, 20!
Well, he needed to get his legs back under him.
Ooh, a little kick.
They leave it one more time to Hammer.
Look at this, and then we'll score again. Look at this.
Up top! Yes, and the finish for Akbayosi. Saved into the hands of Riak, ahead of the pack to Davina Lovato. Up high, down hard for Akbayosi. Out of the corner, Casals, the 3-0, Katenge! Let me clean up the mess! He dropped out of the rafters for that one, Steve.
A little bit with us on the opening drive as the inauguration is getting set to start. We're talking about a lot of stuff that's going on here. Big day yesterday for college athletics. It's the opening drive. Jeff Siembieda, JJ Buck, Micah, J. Pole, Alden. Glad you're with us on 95.9 FM and AM 670 Sports Animal and ProView Networks. Oh, no, man. Les says, I've been watching inauguration since 1981, so why would I watch now when everything's being done virtually via crummy internet cell phone video? Or you are trying to understand a muffled speech because they're wearing that bleep on their face. Les. I don't know, Les. I mean, you don't have to watch anything you don't want to watch. I know a lot of people are. I don't know what's crummy. What's crummy internet video? I mean, it looks pretty clean in HD to me. What? Les, do what you got to do, man. I'm glad you're listening to us. That's all I know. I'm glad you're part of what we're doing. I'm down. JJ, Eddie Nunez was with us today. Anything? I don't know. When you come out of that. And we're rehashing a little bit, but I'm down with that. As you know, yesterday there was an amendment to the intercollegiate wording in the state health orders in regards to COVID protocols that allows college athletes to practice here. They can come and go as long as they're being tested 3 times a week. They can come and go without having to quarantine when they leave the state. We got into the housing, and there won't be playing any home competitions. As we sit here this morning, like, where are you with everything? Are you down with it? Do you think it's in the right spot?
I think Eddie didn't do enough.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I'm like, all right.
No, I'm fine. It's a huge step because it's not just, yes, we're laser focused on basketball. That's what's happening. That's what we've been dealing with. But what it does, it opens the door for their Olympic sports to participate, to have a season. And it's such an odd year for everyone. It's not the normal college experience. We get that. But if you can give at least some of your students something, in this case, the student athletes, that's have an advantage because they're a student athlete, so they get to participate in their said sport. It was a huge step to open the door to where he said it. If they were not able to practice here, it would be basketball and nothing else. Like, they weren't going to send volleyball to a different state, soccer. Like, at that point in time, the finances and what you're getting out of it, no, it's not going to happen. So this was a huge step forward for all the other student athletes at the University of New Mexico to have a chance to participate. And he said it multiple times. He understands it's, the work is far from done. This is a huge step overall just to get student athletes on the field, take some anxiety off their plate, especially for men's and women's basketball, just living on the road. It's a different feeling. Like, if you go play your road series, fine. Like, it's 3 days, you bounce, go stay, come back and practice, as opposed to being in Vegas for a week and then going to Logan, Utah, and then, or maybe it's St. George, or is it back to Lubbock, or are we in Canyon, Texas? Right. Like, it's a totally different feeling. All of us want to be home at some point in time. And so it's a huge step in that direction. And then just everyone else knowing, guess what? We get to practice. And I don't know if there's ever been a time in any athlete's life where they are this excited to hear the words practice.
We talk about practice? We talk about practice. Yeah. So I'll tell you, I'm going to rephrase what you said because I think you're right. I don't think it's enough. Now, I don't think it's on Eddie. I think Eddie is pushed for quite a bit. But I don't think it is enough. Like, if you're going to allow them to practice, which, by the way, I think should have been done a long time ago, then why can't they play home competitions? Well, then you got teams coming in. Well, they're all going under the same protocol now. League rules would mandate, as long as they're being tested 3 times a week, and like, to me, that's where I would have liked to see it go. And I'd be fine with non-spectator competitions at home. That's not on Eddie. Eddie fought for what he could get. Eddie fought for his student athletes. Eddie fought and got this done, and I give him incredible amounts of credit. But I'm not going to disagree with you in the sentiment that it's not enough. I'm not trying to be greedy here. I am incredibly appreciative for those student athletes that they've gotten this concession, that they've gotten to move forward. Like, please don't think I'm underplaying the significance of what yesterday means. I'm just saying I'm not sure I think it's enough. But that's just from where I sit. For those of you who were adamantly, and I'm not telling you wrong, please don't, this isn't, I want you to understand this in the vein in which it's asked. Adamantly behind where the governor's office was on this, that said that they shouldn't be practicing here, that they shouldn't be playing, that they went against the governor's orders and they shouldn't be playing. And how do you feel today? How do you feel about the relaxation of this protocol? Are you down with okay, it's time to start moving forward? Why now is it time? Because JJ, I still firmly believe, and yesterday was big because it was the beginning of the semester. The student athletes are back. They had to have a direction. At some point, you had to have a direction what you're doing with your student athletes. And I think it doesn't go far enough because it doesn't include high school. But why now? And I do believe because there was some pressure put on because the double standard for United. But for those who were completely behind the limitations that were in place, where are those people now? Are they saying, all right, well, if the governor says it's cool, then we're cool now? Like, why now?
We'll see what their response is. And a lot of people are asking, well, what's the difference? Well, this just happened to be not just that everyone was convening once again, but the next step in the timeline where, all right, the semester's starting, you have another portion of your schedule with other sports upcoming. So what is the decision?
Yeah. And I think why now is because you're starting to see some numbers come down. The vaccination is being rolled out. And so you're seeing a light towards the end of the tunnel. So I would tell you that's where I would go if I was asked, why now, if I was of that mindset. But I'm just glad it's now. So you can get in at 505-246-0610. Has anyone come further in American... I'm totally changing gears now, by the way. Alex Rodriguez was like despised, right? He was suspended for a full year of baseball for doing PEDs, lying about it and everything. And now he's on stage at the inauguration. Now he's all over my TV. He's everywhere. He's on Shark Tank. He's on my TV every Sunday night game. He's on stage at the presidential inauguration. Has anyone done an image overhaul any more drastic than him?
In the world of athletics, he is top shelf.
Tyson?
Like Mount Rushmore. I think it's even better than Tyson.
Yeah. Tiger?
I'll kind of laugh at Mike Tyson still. But it's Alex Rodriguez, I think even more so than Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tiger Woods is an athlete that we watch, but like A-Rod turned it into a different level of public figure, that he's out there, he's on television, he's on these broadcasts, and he's someone that it's like, I like listening to Alex Rodriguez. I think he does a really good job in those situations. And a lot of it was he acknowledged it. He doesn't try to be the guy like that after the fact goes, well, I was right then. No, he moved on. Like, he addressed it. He made a ton of mistakes. He served his penalties, and now he's back just talking about the game in baseball. And so many athletes that we've seen go through struggles or challenges, continue to have that edge where they're like, well, I got to fight everybody. I got to keep fighting. No, there's nothing to fight. You made the mistake. You're wrong. And there we are.
Yeah, Michael Vick to a lesser extent, right? He's on Fox on a lower profile. I give Mike Vick, but man, A-Rod, and I don't know, man. If he wasn't with Jennifer Lopez, maybe his celebrity would be a little less. I mean, he's at the inauguration because Jennifer Lopez is singing. I understand that, but would he still be on Shark Tank? Would he still? I mean, it's amazing, the absolute image transformation, the image rehabilitation that guy did, because he was despised by 95% of certainly sports fans, right? Despised, and here he is sitting on the stage. All right, when we come back, the James Harden trade was a big deal last week, and all the focus is on James Harden and the Nets, a little bit on what happened to Houston. That trade may have saved one player's life, and he's with the Indiana Pacers. I'll explain that when we come back. I want to tell you about International Protective Service, IPS. They watch my home. They can watch your business, your home. They can keep the bad guys away and give you a sense of security. Look, I get security for your home or business is something you don't want to think about a lot. You certainly sometimes don't want to think about paying for it, and then a bad guy breaks in, and you're like, dang, I should have done it. It's like insurance. Don't be unprepared. Don't wait until something bad happens. International Protective Service is highly trained security officers, many former law enforcement and military, who are making our community a safer place to work and to live. They protect homes and businesses. If your alarm goes off at a home in which they monitor or a business in which they monitor, they're there within 5 to 7 minutes with armed, trained security officers, and they catch the bad guys. It is peace of mind, and it is real, honest security. Let IPS protect your home or business with on-site guards or 24-hour patrols to stop crime before it happens to you. Call them at 505-897-2420. 505-897-2420 or go to ipsglobal.com.
Mahomes with the snap, floats it toward the back of the end zone for a touchdown.
Ramos wants another.
Opportunity here. Martinez shoots, he scores. Cut into it. Had some nice looks at the rim. Win. Inside. They're not going to miss this one. Two-hand hammer from Murillo. Ball's played up. Rodriguez with it.
Gonna settle, looks to the inside, comes to the far side push. Shot on aim, goal, deflected in. No.
Dorian's gonna go all the way. It was blocked by the rim. Get it out, says Kobe Wade. Ramos, got it. Look out. Ramos, can he chase it down? It was a freebie, saved it. And then stolen. And somehow Hasbury's got it back. Handoff. Watson.
Getting stripped. Calion stripped him. Some Highland the other way. Win up top to the big goal. Here he comes.
For the lead. Got it.
What a great game plan. Look at this.
Agbayosi throws it down.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Shoot a shoot. They'll get one off, and it'll count high off the window.
Oh my gosh.
There's a long three.
Boom.
Bang. Martinez will beat the buzzer. Got it to go. His
Fork driving kick. Three's in the air. It's good.
Nice pass on the nice block by Hernandez Crawford.
And Brown in the transition. But why not, Steve? Is Corbalan's going to go when he puts it away. And Corbalan wants to put it down. Here comes Las Cruces. Brown, you can't leave him alone. Put it down.
Gershon in transition. 3-on-2. Gershon going to go all the way. Whoa, Morgan. Has that ball stolen. Jeremy Segura.
Forward dribble, spin cycle, up and under move. What a pass. Wrap around pass.
Harris, Legate, the long bomb, 3 ball.
Oh, great steal by Quinteros, lays it up and scores.
The whole little jump step in the
Harden going from Houston to join the Brooklyn Nets, and Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and so much has been paid to what it's going to mean, and rightfully so, and what will the Houston Rockets do, but it may have saved one man's life. It's the opening drive. Jeff Siembieda and J.J. Buck. Alden and Jay Poll produced for you on the TV side. You can watch us on ProViewNetworks.com or on our Facebook page, the OD and the AM. Mike is downtown producing for us on the radio side. So J.J. Karis LeVert was a big piece of this trade, getting Indiana in and being able to make all the salaries work. And he's a really, really, really good young player who went from the Nets to Indiana. And part of these trades, all of them, are physicals.
What was actually, LeVert went to Houston, and then it was separate. Then Houston and Indiana.
Right. I don't think he ever made a stop, like a physical stop. Yes, his rights went to Houston, but he never made a physical stop there. Right. Yes. That's what took the three teams in. And so part of this is they do physicals. And after a recent MRI during the physical, and it was revealed that there's a small mass on Karis LeVert's left kidney. Now, they're going to figure out what it is, but he had no symptoms. He was playing games. He hadn't missed any games. He said he felt 100% healthy. So, quote, in a way, this trade definitely showed and revealed what was going on in my body. So I'm definitely looking at it from that side, and definitely humbled to know that this trade could have possibly saved me in the long run. Look, man, end quote. I don't know how you all feel. The things happen for a reason. It's crazy what happens. But the chances of them finding this, if he didn't get traded and just in random, was pretty nil. They don't know what the mass is yet. He's sidelined, but this is fairly incredible.
Yeah, it's why did things happen this way? No idea, but thankful they did. To go through the physical and how thorough they are on these trades, and not just taking someone's word for it, like, oh yeah, I checked out his ankle, here's his medical records, he's fine. They put you through everything, and to find this on Karis LeVert, he's probably thinking about things a lot differently this week with just the unknown, because like you said, he's felt fine, no issues, but anytime you hear mass, it's, there's this pause, and like, what does this mean? But just, it's great that they found it, and he's probably sitting there going, man, I was on the Nets. It was Kevin Durant. We were balling. Now I got to go to the Indiana Pacers. But ultimately, when it's all said and done, could have saved his life.
Yeah, and there's a history of health issues in his family that I didn't know about. His father died of heart failure at 46. His mother had multiple sclerosis. And obviously, there's a lot there. And so, when you lose people at young ages, I would hope that health would be first and foremost, and you would take care of it. But I just an incredible story when I saw that. And best to Karis LeVert. And take care of yourself, young man, and best to you. If you're joining us this morning, breaking news, Phillip Rivers is retired or is announcing his retirement from football. 17 years in the National Football League. He leaves as fifth on the all-time list in passing yards in the National Football League, behind Brady and Breeze and Manning and Peyton Manning and Brett Favre. He leaves fifth in all-time touchdown passes, behind Breeze and Brady and Peyton Manning and Brett Favre. I believe a Hall of Famer. I don't believe you have to win a championship to be a Hall of Famer. Fran Tarkenton didn't. Dan Marino didn't. There are a lot of great quarterbacks who did not win a Super Bowl that are great quarterbacks. You tell me the greatest ones win it, I'll listen to you. I'm not telling you he's the greatest. I'm not telling you he's Tom Brady. I'm not even telling you he's Peyton Manning. But I don't think you have to be a Hall of Famer.
But you still think he's Hall of Fame worthy?
I do. I just think by the numbers. Again, if you're going to tell me, and it won't bother me if he's not a first ballot, I'm down. 17-year career. Those stats are not longevity. Mark Brunell lasted a long time, and he's not on those lists, right? He did it really well at a really high level for 17 years. If you're going to tell me the game is throw ball, catch ball, tackle, put ball in end zone. He put the ball in the end zone more than anybody but four guys who ever played the game. He threw the ball for more yards more than anybody except for four guys who ever played the game. It's Hall of Fame. Again, if you want to tier your Hall of Famers, that's fine. I'm not telling you he's the greatest ever. I'm not. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, because then especially you start looking over the last 20 years, the game has changed and where he is in regards to those numbers. You start taking a step back, and there's guys with good numbers that we don't think of immediately off the top as Hall of Famers, because I think right now we'd be looking at, Drew Brees is Hall of Fame quarterback. You're going to say Roethlisberger.
Brady.
There's Eli Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. So it's kind of like at what point, there's a lot of good quarterbacks, but are we just putting those guys in there because they were good, or are they legit Hall of Fame players?
All right. Well, I'll give you guys that were good quarterbacks in this era that probably aren't Hall of Fame guys. Matthew Stafford. Is he a Hall of Famer?
You don't have that same instance as you do when you said Philip Rivers.
Okay. Boy, I'm not coming up with a lot of them, actually. Matt Ryan.
That was where I was going. Matt Ryan is in that category. So I think once you take just a step back and kind of get out of, Philip Rivers is a retiring moment, I do think it's a fascinating conversation, because there's going to be a lot of guys over the next 5 to 10 years, ultimately, when Matthew Stafford and Matt Ryan wrap it up, that are going to be in that tier of numbers. And while
Donovan
they're really
McNabb.
good numbers, are they Hall of Fame players?
Yeah. Donovan McNabb.
I think
quarterback. See, I don't. I don't.
I don't see
Tony Romo.
Other than numbers, I think McNabb did more than Philip Rivers when it came to team success.
Okay, and that's where you have that conversation. Is it team success, or is it numbers? And I think the answer is yes on both of them. Tony Romo.
No.
Okay. I think there's a number of guys. There won't be a lot of them. I honestly, as I look down, the last 20 years, I'm not coming up with a bunch of guys that had really good careers, that long careers. I mean, I'm looking at teams that, honestly, run like Joe Flacco. No, I'm looking at who are quarterbacks that had good careers. I'll give Joe Flacco a good career. I would make an argument, and I would lose the argument in most cases, I think. But I could make the argument that I think Philip Rivers is a Hall of Fame quarterback before Eli Manning. But the trump card is 2 Super Bowl rings, right?
I'm right there with you. Now, I think Donovan McNabb is fringe. I'm not sitting here saying he's a Hall of Famer, but I think there's more of a debate. I 100% on board with you when it comes to, say, quarterbacks like Philip Rivers versus Eli Manning or Joe Flacco. I'm taking Philip Rivers over both those guys, but that's also 3 Super Bowls to 0, which is just there's 53 dudes on that roster that get the job done. But ultimately, what do we do? And it comes back to these quarterbacks.
So I'll counter my argument, because every quarterback you just told me from the last 2 decades that you think is a Hall of Fame quarterback won a Super Bowl. Unless you think Matt Ryan should be in the Super Bowl or in the Hall of Fame, do you? Matt Ryan lost the Super Bowl, but he was in one. Hell, Philip Rivers didn't even go. But you told me you think both Mannings, Favre, obviously Brady and Breeze. Who else am I missing here? Rodgers, right? But they all won Super Bowls, all of them. Like, is there a quarterback? This is really interesting as I go through this, because I'm almost going to talk myself out of it. Give me a quarterback from the last, since Dan Marino. Give me one, since Dan Marino, who you think is a Hall of Fame quarterback that did not win a Super Bowl. This is the first guy. Because I don't think McNabb's in there. I just don't. You got one?
Jim
Since
Kelly?
Okay. But he was before Marino, right? Jim Kelly's a Hall of Famer. Jim Kelly should be a Hall of Famer. Jim Kelly went to 4 Hall of Famers. Jim Kelly's Fran Tarkenton in that respect, right? They went to 4 Super Bowls, didn't win one. Okay, Jim Kelly didn't win one. I just Googled, and I didn't even look at it. I wanted to find Hall of Fame quarterbacks and how many of them did not win a Super Bowl, or at least, obviously in the modern era, right? Because there wasn't a Super Bowl beyond the last 55 years. But I'm going to ask you the question, and we're going to take the break, and we'll come back. Since Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, has there been a quarterback that has not won a Super Bowl that you think should be in the Hall of Fame? Because that's the Phillip Rivers conversation. It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610 Sports Animal.
And look out, here comes Agbayosi. Crawford set. That's blocked. Lansing says, get that out of here. Sister to sister, Marianne Lansing's going to go all the way. Turnaround. Ramos, pump fake, everyone bites. Ramos hits.
Jackson loses it. David Bond back, alley-oop, put it down. Dunkalicious, how about it?
Ramos, rise and fire. He's fouled.
You know, he used to coach for Del Norte. And
Here's Voss all the way with the finish. He'll get the... Behind the back of the dribble. Trying to go up with the right hand. He changed hands in midair. And Hotnet sent it away. Wynn doing a really good job denying Chavez. DC hasn't got the ball. Oh, Yeku. Oh. Working against Watson. Oh, look at the spin move.
Ball's loose. DJ Bustos brings it up. Barnes Tompkins, alley-oop. How about it? That was redunculous.
Turnover. Cable to the big fella might try to jam one home.
Quarterbacks in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. 26 of them. In the modern era, the Super Bowl era, which is the last 55 years, this will be Super Bowl 55 coming up. Mike, I gave JJ the answer. Do you know the answer? Do you know how many quarterbacks in the last 55 years, how many quarterbacks from that era are in who did not win a Super Bowl?
3.
The answer is 4. Would you know who they are? I've given you 3 of them. You know, we've talked about it would be Dan Marino, who got to 1 Super Bowl. Jim Kelly and Fran Tarkenton, who both went to 4 Super Bowls and did not win one. And then Warren Moon. JJ, 2 of them have been here in Albuquerque as guest speakers, keynote speakers at the New Mexico Bowl kickoff luncheons over the last 5-6 years.
Pretty good.
Got to meet and spend some time with both Warren Moon and have dinner with him and with Jim Kelly as well. Great people. Certainly Jim Kelly. So I don't know. It's not unprecedented. Phillip Rivers would be more on the career line. You would say more so like a Marino who went to 1 and put up gaudy numbers. Or Warren Moon, who started his career in the Canadian Football League, is somewhat a pioneer, I think the first black quarterback in the Hall of Fame. You know what? I missed one. There's one more. There is one more. There is a fifth. Do you know who the fifth would be? This is the Phillip Rivers comparison. I missed one. If I told you it's absolute Phillip Rivers comparison, would you know who it was? Same team? Dan Fouts. Dan Fouts. I didn't know if Dan Fouts was in the Hall of Fame, but I missed it. Dan Fouts, 15 seasons, 6 Pro Bowls, threw for over 43,000 yards and 254 touchdowns. So Dan Fouts so there's 5. I think he gets in. I think if Fouts is in, I think Rivers is in.
And when you take a look at the overall leaderboard and you just realize where Rivers sits, I know you said it, 5th in passing yards, 5th in touchdown passes, but then you even look at where some of these other guys are, like Matthew Stafford's not going to catch him. Matt Ryan could absolutely be close because he's at like 374. Rivers is at like 421 in passing touchdowns. So Rivers has elevated himself overall over everyone else. And now you go back and you look at some Hall of Famers, and ultimately when I went through that list, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe Don McNabb's not a Hall of Famer. Maybe Matthew Stafford, Matt Ryan ultimately are going to be guys that have nice numbers, but are definitely going to be out in the outside looking in. I think Phillip Rivers just overall elevated himself above everyone else without winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Kurt Warner's resume, and you just pointed it out. It's not over the top impressive.
He had 3 good seasons,
and he took 2 different franchises to the Super Bowl.
They were 3 great seasons, but it was 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and here's the answer to a trivia question. Who did Eli Manning replace as quarterback of the New York Football Giants? It's Kurt Warner at the end. And I argued big that Kurt Warner should be in. I don't think there's one criteria. Like, there's a big conversation. What should count more, your regular season statistics or championships? I think they both count. And I don't think they have to be exclusive. And that's why, when you look at a guy like Bradshaw's numbers weren't great, but he won 4 Super Bowls. If you look at Bradshaw's stats, they weren't gaudy, but he won 4 Super Bowls.
That's why you got to talk about pretty much like eras and just term in decades. Like the last 20 years, the way the quarterback position is played is different than we saw in the 90s, 80s, and what Terry Bradshaw was asked to do. So those numbers are going to look nothing like the quarterbacks of today's game.
Yeah, Kenny Stabler's numbers weren't like that, but he's a Hall of Famer. Fran Tarkenton was, I don't want to say Lamar Jordan, or Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar Jordan's a totally different guy.
Lamar Jordan running that option.
Totally different guy. But he was the scrambling quarterback. If you go back and look at highlights of what Fran Tarkenton did, little dude who just ran around and created and made extended plays, he was the first that did that. So he was different. I just don't know that I think that there's a criteria. I think there's a number of them. And so if you're going to tell me, well, Eli won 2 Super Bowls, the rest of his career was super mediocre. Kind of what you're telling me with Kurt Warner, right? And who only won 1, but went to 2 with 2 different franchises. Is that more impressive than a guy who did it consistently year in and year out and put up those numbers? 5th most in the history of the game in passing yards and touchdown passes.
It's going to be weighted differently depending on what you have on your resume. And if we want to talk about the last 20 years, you're going to get a bonus if you happen to beat Tom Brady in one of those situations. And Eli Manning did it twice. And that's what's going to have him at the forefront of that conversation is there's 2 Super Bowl winning seasons. But there are still a lot of quarterbacks that would take over Eli Manning during this time. He rose to the occasion, 2 big moments in Super Bowl victories. But overall, as a player, I'm taking Phillip Rivers.
We don't hold anybody else to the standard. I'm looking at running backs. who are in the Hall of Fame. And the list is surprisingly small. But not all of them won championships. LaDainian Tomlinson never won. Thurman Thomas never won. O.J. Simpson didn't win one. Barry Sanders didn't win one. Curtis Martin didn't win one. I don't believe Edrin James did he?
Was
there's
he on that
guys
Colts team?
He may have been. He may have been. Yeah, the Peyton Manning Colts team. Yeah, he may have. Look, Marcus Allen did. Jerome Bettis did. Earl Campbell never did. Terrell Davis won one. I mean, is Terrell Davis really a Hall of Famer? Like, Terrell Davis, honestly, when he got in the Hall of Fame, I went, I never considered him a Hall of Famer. So we have a different standard for quarterback.
I think that's fine. I think we should have different standards for the quarterback position.
Yeah, it feels though, if you're a good quarterback who wins a Super Bowl, not a Doug Williams good quarterback, but I mean a good quarterback. Like if Matt Ryan would have won the Super Bowl, we would say, oh, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, right? With those numbers and he won that Super Bowl, he's a Hall of Famer. And we don't say that about Trent Dilfer. We're not saying that about Brad Johnson, but Mark Rippon. But if you're a good quarterback who's won one, all of a sudden that pushes you over the top. Like if Matt Ryan's the perfect example to me because Brady's won so many. But if Warren Moon would have won one, if Stafford would have won one, if Rivers would have won one, if Rivers won a Super Bowl, would we be having this conversation?
There would be little doubt. So yeah, it skews the argument. Yeah,
if everybody believes in I waver on Eli. I really waver on Eli because I think part of the criteria of him winning two and beating Brady and being such a part of that team, that was such a historic year to stop that team from, that New England team from being undefeated. I waver on Eli. But yeah, that's where we are. All right, 505-246-0610, 888-922-0610. We'd love to hear from you. I got some emails on this, on the Dodgers. I'll get that to you when we get back. It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
Yeah, they got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake, double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
Third and 6. Big defensive play coming up here. Little trickery to Reese. See you later. Touchdown. They went for the deep ball to Reese.
To the right, single receiver split to the left. Play fake, head up the middle, got some room. 50, 45, 40, has one man to beat. 30, 25, 10, 5, touchdown. Touchdown, Hope.
Wow.
On a
option again, he'll keep it. Now he'll pitch it. Comes out to the 30, 25, 20, up the sideline. Still inbounds into the end zone. Let's see.
Touchdown.
Touchdown. Portell.
The outside of running an out route.
Davis in the play action, looking. He's going to go back to Lewis, and Lewis makes a cut, and Lewis still on his feet. Dorian Lewis is in for a touchdown.
Back to toss it. He's got all day. It's one miss, and he's rolling. He's got a guy. Can he get it there? Davison to Luke Weissong.
Hey, we told you he
touchdown.
could spin that football, and that was a throw right there. I know he's got the wind at his back, but
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
To create space, he gives it off to Rivas for the three, and he buries it.
Could be coming in soon. Double kick set for Avalos. Goes to the right. Avalos puts it up high. Window. Scores and is fouled.
Right here by Lewis all the way, coast to coast, and finish.
What a...
Around the screen. Against White. Step back. It's blocked. JB with the block.
In transition, ahead to hit on. Hit on for the two-hand hammer.
Minutes to go. They've got a shot. They have a chance, and it's put up, and it's good. What a three that is by Jalen.
Hidon puts it up.
Through Inauguration Day, you have a new vice president of the United States. Kamala Harris has been sworn in as the vice president, and within here in about 14 minutes, Joe Biden will be the president of the United States of America. This is from Terry. Dodgers, Dukes, and Sutton. Previous caller remembered correctly when Sutton said he played for the Dodgers and Albuquerque, and Yeager said he played for the Dukes in '72. The AA franchise in the 60s was known as the Dodgers and became the Dukes when they were elevated to AAA. Sutton's career numbers are amazing considering he only won 20 games in a year one time. It's pretty amazing. All right, Howard, thank you for holding. Your Quan's Auto Care hotline. Good day, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. You know, Mr. Buck, I do agree with you. I don't think Tony Romo belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I think of the quarterbacks you guys discussed, McNabb, Stafford, and Ryan, I think Romo was more talented than those guys. That's my true belief, and I think possibly his inability to make the Hall of Fame is because the organization failed him, as the organization is failing Dak Prescott now. As they're you know, they went about everything backwards. I mean, giving big money to a receiver, to a running back, to a linebacker, and now it's like the bank account's sitting a little low. And, you know, I don't know. I feel like that organization just fails its players. And, you know, that's happened ever since good old Jerry Jones has taken over. You know, he had a moment of brilliance when he brought Jimmy Johnson in, and then when he found out there was another alpha male in the building, he didn't like it. So, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Are they failing them? I don't know. Tony Romo was surrounded by a lot of talent. Tony Romo didn't drop that that snap on that field goal back in the day in Seattle. Would they have gone further? I feel like they're failing Dak a little bit right now. But yeah, there's a lot to it. We've talked a lot about Jerry.
Yeah, quite possibly. You know, and I'm a little disappointed in Edward on his take on Dan Campbell. I mean, the jury's still out on Campbell, obviously, but I think that he deserves a chance to. Maybe he'll put his imprint on the game. Maybe he'll grow to be a good coach. And it really was a lackluster hire, especially when you still have Eric Bieniemy out there. I think it's a travesty that gentleman has not gotten a head coaching job. And I know they thought he had some character issues, but who of us don't have some sort of character flaws in our game, on an everyday basis? I don't know why he can't seem to nail down a head coaching job.
Yeah, because they can't name him as a head coach because they're still playing. So, the Eagles' jobs, what is there, 2 open, JJ? Eagles and what else?
Texans,
yeah.
And I think he might get the Texan job. I don't think he's really a candidate for the Eagle job. I think he might get the Texan job just to try to, calm Deshaun Watson down. So that might be a possibility there. But, and I've heard you refer to the inauguration today, Jeff, and, and to the start of a new era in our country. And, I think it's a shame in lieu of the things that happened a little over a week ago. It's a shame that democracy is being failed when we go to the polls and we all vote for who we want to be our next president and vice president. And then the failure is this, in the past, everybody voices their opinion, makes their decision, and then we elect a president. And then as a nation and as a country, as a people, we have to have trust and faith in the process and go forward by saying, okay, well, maybe my guy didn't win, but let's unite behind this president and try to make our nation good, a great nation again, because I don't think we're such a great nation right now. But hopefully Biden and Harris can, make that change over the next 4 years. Thanks for taking my call today, guys.
All right, thank you. Lance, good morning. You're on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. Hello, Lance.
Good morning. Michael Vicks, wanted to throw up there. He went to prison, came out, started his life over, and would point to Scott every time he made a good play. And all those quarterbacks you mentioned need to be in the Hall of Fame. But the thing is, my take on Edwards' call is that guy he's an offensive line tight end coach. What did New England do to win all those Super Bowls? It was the offensive line and tight ends. They had one nut job that ended up killing himself in prison. But, that's what really wins. Green Bay did it way back in the day. So the guy knows nothing about football. He just calls in so he can hear himself later. It's really ridiculous to actually come on the air and say that Dan Campbell's a bad hire. They need to buckle up.
All right. I just pot. Hey, it's the kettle. All right. 505-246-06. If you want to get in, you still can. Brian said, do you think quarterbacks are being judged on whether or not they won a Super Bowl in order to justify being inducted in the Hall of Fame as a fair standard? How many non-quarterbacks are in the Hall of Fame who haven't won a Super Bowl? What are their standards based on? That's what we've been having the conversation about, right? It's a standard. Is it fair?
I think it weighs on them more than other players, no doubt.
Yeah, well, they're the only ones who have a one-loss record, right? Mm-hmm. Running backs don't. What's Emmitt Smith's one-loss record?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. It's not a thing. And so, that's is it more of a standard? Is it a fair standard? I don't know that it's fair. I don't know that it's unfair, though. Honestly, if you're going to put so much on that position, I don't. It is what it is to me, and I don't find it exclusive. I don't think you should have to win a Super Bowl to be in the Hall of Fame as a quarterback. But I think it's okay that it elevates you. I think that's why Kurt Warner's there and why Eli Manning's going to be there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a standard that for quarterbacks, we should talk about it differently. We should weight it differently because that one position can change your franchise unlike anything else. There's so many more things that go into it. But if you hit on a guy, you're going to be competitive, and you're going to have a chance to get to that moment if you have a good enough player at that position. Because you start with Barry Sanders, probably one of the best running backs you've ever seen. What did it mean? It meant nothing for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just went down a bunch of running backs who would never, who didn't win. Look, Kellen Winslow is in the Hall of Fame. He never went to a Super Bowl. Right? I mean, there's great players who were in situations, and certainly in the pre-free agency or I want out era, right? I mean, Lord knows what Deshaun Watson's situation is going to end up being, right? It's going to be, this story is going to be an interesting one to be written. In the I dictate where I am era, and I'm not telling you that's right or wrong. That's not me passing judgment on the era. It's just how it used to be. Fran Tarkenton was in Minnesota forever, and guys were where they were. That's how it was. Gale Sayers was in Chicago when Curtis Martin was with the Jets for a long time, so.
It was also the it's hard to get these guys help era because we can't go out and sign anyone else.
That's right. No, that's absolutely right. So, all right. What do I got tonight? I got Boise State, and who are they going to beat up on tonight? Is it Fresno State? Yeah, they got Fresno State tonight, I think. That's what I get tonight. Did you catch Duke getting beat at Pittsburgh last night? Duke and Kentucky are like 9-12 combined. Krzyzewski and Calipari are like 9-12 combined. But they'll both be in the Final Four, and they'll both be in the tournament, and you'll have it's 23 and one team not in.
Different challenges for both. Duke is like they just can't figure themselves out. Like you just look at Mike Krzyzewski, it looked like this entire year is really wearing on him. It's the first time he's lost to an assistant in his career. So one of his assistants that's gone on to be a head coach. First time he's lost in the matchup. And for Kentucky, they just don't have the dudes. Like we're so used to all the five-stars one and dones. Well, they have a couple of those guys, but it's not to the level of what we're accustomed to with Kentucky, and that's showing through. Because usually they have some warts early in the season. It happens, but they grow. I don't think that's going to happen this year for Kentucky.
Yeah. I'm not ready to sit here and tell you it's not, because he's a bit of a witch too. But to say they don't have the dudes at Kentucky is borderline startling. Like it just is because of what they've been. This is such an odd year, though. Have you gotten as into college basketball as you do in the past? Because it's been hard for me.
It's been challenging. I think it's similar to football. What we're dealing with, we're used to having that direct connection to something, which then pulls you in. And while we're still working with it, we're on the outside looking in, unlike ever before.
1 minute. Yeah. All right. Enjoy that. Tomorrow, Jerry Palm will be with us. We'll get into some college football and basketball with Jerry. How many teams does he have out of the Mountain West in? Great job, as always. Jay Pohl and Alden on the TV side. Micah produced for you on the radio side. Jim Rome Show is next. Dan Patrick Show follows that. The Sports Bars this afternoon at 3. That's local sports talk with Trulio and Carlisle. JJ, want to come back tomorrow morning? I don't know, 7 a.m.?
Have a day off.
All right, be good. Treat each other well, please. Be kind, loving, caring, and sharing. We'll smell you tomorrow.
Plays it across the box off the dasher. It's settled. Shot on by Garcia. Trickles in. Goal.
Chavez blocked at the rim. And here's Dorian Lewis to Watson.
Shot on and just wide. Big deflection. Goal.
With this first field goal. Look at that. That's gorgeous.
Not a game you can go have 25 turnovers in and win.
Get that out of here, Watson says. Here comes Hodnett all the way. He's blocked in return. Dickey, did he get it off? He did, and he hit it. They're really Oliveris. Wild three, and it hit.
Another steal nearly by Hiron. It is a steal. Avalos ahead to Hiron. The two-hand hammer by Hiron. I knew he was going to put that one down.
ProView Networks tonight.
District mashup there.
Davidson took it away in transition. Might be time for a jam. Yes.
Oh!
Nick Barton, watch him, coach. Watch the inbounder.
Dumas Sanchez in the corner.
Back to Barton with 2.4 seconds left. Fires for the win.
And he got it!
It's good.
Oh my God!
On the last second shot.
He did. Oh my God!
Bakes it in from 25 feet and watch the celebration right in front of us. What a shot by Barton. He was double teamed and somehow found a way to get it in. Ramos to Gaxiola, high window for the win. It's good. It counts. Gaxiola with the game winner for a Driscoll Heritage.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.